All right, we are live. Welcome to Myth Vision Podcast. Today we're going to do a call-in show. So hopefully we can get some callers that are respectful, that can come on and kind of, I guess you'd say, challenge or question Abdullah Sameer and his thinking when it comes to the Quran, when it comes to the faith of Islam, and all the above. So with that being said, I made sure I pinned the comment down there in the chat for everybody who's watching. I only want Muslim callers and no one else because this is specifically that show. If you have a question, super chat your question and we will address it. But I try to create a platform for interfaith dialogue between both sides. And that is something that we do here at Myth Vision occasionally to show that we're all human. We're all trying to figure things out. And of course, one side thinks the other side's wrong. And the other side thinks that the other side's wrong. So how do we do that without, pitchforks and torches and bullets and all the above? Well, you got YouTube. And I'm trying to keep it from being too much more. Here's our intro before we get started. Now, if you're wondering, you were eyewitnesses of that. Like, that actually happened. I literally just split the moon in half, and therefore, it's true. Welcome to Myth Vision, my friendly ex-Muslim Abdullah Sameer. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hey, pleasure to be here. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year's to you, brother.
How's the new year treating you? It's been 2 days so far. Nothing, no catastrophes just yet, I hope.
No, I'm shocked it's the weather's the way it is, though. It's like 73, and I was checking my mail in my boxers last night. I walked out to go get my mail, and I'm like, what the heck? I don't have to put any clothes on. I'm good to go. It's really nice down here in North Carolina. I want everybody to know right now, go subscribe to Friendly Ex-Muslim on YouTube or AbdullahSameer.com. You can find other ways of supporting and joining and checking him out. He has a Patreon and stuff. He told me not to plug it, but I literally just disrespected him and did it anyway. I don't care. If you like what you hear and you want someone who's a humanist, who's more progressive in their thinking, he is someone like that as well. And of course, he was very devout in his own faith, as I was as a Christian, except he was a Muslim. So I have him on. We have a lot in common when it comes to these things. Consider joining his YouTube channel, subscribing, harassing him there, and all the above. You're more than welcome to do so. And I have the Patreon, tons of stuff. Go check us out. Hundreds of videos. I'm constantly doing material, and much more will be coming here in 2022. Don't miss out on that. Now, back to you and me. What's new? What's going on new with you before we get any callers in? What's been going on?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for sharing and plugging the channel. I do appreciate it. I am working hard on the channel, so I do appreciate when it gets visibility. So that's amazing. What's new for me? I think I'm trying to focus and get more time on the channel. Obviously, I told you privately that I have a new job. So new job is, obviously the bread and butter of my life is how I keep the bills, the lights on. And that also has to be taken care of, as well as the activism. So, juggling lots of balls here. And so that's always a bit of a challenge. But yeah, I'm working on looking for new ways to present the material that needs to be presented. For a lot of what I'm doing now, I would say, is focusing on the epileptic prophet and trying to get some clips out of that, because there's a lot of gold in that series and it needs more visibility. So that's kind of my focus at the moment.
Well, you're working hard at it while working a full-time job, so I'm proud of you on that. It's not easy to do what you do while doing all the other work. So yeah, and I do this full-time, and I'm telling you, it's a pain. It's a lot of work. I do everything myself, the thumbnails, the titles, you name it, and I do it. So I hope we get some callers today. The goal is to get some callers in today to, you kind of want people to click the dang video. So you're like, all right, how can we get people to challenge? People like a challenge, but more often than not, the thinking behind why you're not a Muslim anymore and what caused you to go off, and is Islam true? All of these questions. So Muslims who believe Islam is true, people who are devout and they think they have answers and they can do that, Look, I pinned the link to call in at the top of the messages or in the chat. So I'm going to go ahead and comment it again. And I ask everyone to be respectful. I'll probably give like a 2 to 3 minute window. If the conversation, I'm going to leave this up to you, right? So you're my guest. If the conversation is going south or it's dry and it's just not getting anywhere, let me know.
Okay, did I freeze or did Derek freeze? One of us froze. I don't know if it's me or Derek. Are you guys still hearing me okay? Okay, am I still live? Oh, I'm still live.
Yeah.
Okay, I took over the channel. Hey, guys.
Okay, there we go.
Okay,
All
I don't know what happened.
back. All right. What I was saying is I'm going to put this in the chat, and I mean, I want to limit the time because some people are repeats that come all the time and things like that, and I don't want to really go into the repeat of the same old discussions. I'm hoping we can get new callers in from what we usually do, but we'll take things as we go. And Apostate Prophet said, you are juggling lots of balls. That sounds sus, just saying. Oh, man, that's funny. Stop scamming, man. Thank you for the super chat. He says, Islamic apologetics is very reliant on the free will argument to justify hell. Yet, for instance, in Surah 10, Moses prays for Pharoh and his followers to have their hearts hardened, and God obliges. Do you have a comment on this you'd like to make? Thank you for the super chat.
Let's talk about that. So I did research free will after leaving Islam, and I am convinced that the way the brain works is the brain operates on chemicals. The brain is a physical object, and it's a physical object that has to obey the laws of physics. And we know the laws of physics are deterministic. Therefore, there is no free will. How could there be something outside of the laws of physics that, allows someone to have some sort of sentience? Free will is an illusion. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't have like a working model of free will. It doesn't mean that like I don't feel like I have free will is a useful model in the sense that, when I'm going to do something, I feel like I have a choice. And for all intents and purposes, from my perspective, I do have a choice. However, the choice that I make is heavily influenced, and I believe there is actually no choice, but it's anyone can understand that our choices are limited and influenced by external reality. For example, we all have sexual desires. Some people don't. They're asexual. They never chose that. Some people are homosexual. Some people are heterosexual. Most people are heterosexual. We never chose that for ourselves. I never chose to be attracted to women. It just is the way I am. That's one example. We can take this thinking further, and if you look into it, it truly, philosophically, and also, like I said, like from science, I don't believe it's possible for us to have free will. So if that's the case, then from the argument of science, hell makes no sense, because now you have a God that gave us the genes that influence us in a certain way. For example, some kids are very prone to being like emotional, and the colicky baby, they're known as colicky babies. I have 5 kids myself, and I can tell you each kid is very different. One of my kids is very soft and very easy to get along with and listens. You tell him something, no, he doesn't do it. My other son, we put a lock on the fridge because he would open the fridge, take things from the fridge. He even put a chair, and he managed to open the lock. Like, he's defiant. Like, he's like, he'll do the opposite of what you tell him. And that's just his like instinct. That's just, and as a child too, like you would know for sure just by seeing these 2 kids. They look similar, but they're totally different personalities. And that's the genetics. They were both raised the same way, yet they ended up totally different. When you look at even, for example, twins that are separated, identical twins that are separated at birth and end up in different families, you'll see that studies have shown that the twins that are in different families raised by different adults, parents, are more similar to each other than their like siblings that they were adopted with, meaning they're like adopted siblings or the like step siblings. Isn't that interesting? It's interesting that, and I'm convinced that it's the genetics plus the environment is what leads us to do what we do. So that means that hell is nonsensical, because God is the one that gave me the inclinations that I have. And every single decision I made in my life, I would make the exact same decision all over again if you put me back in that situation, because I did the best I could with the information that I had and the skills and experiences, right?
So just to touch up on this, and we got a few people down in the chat. So Stop Scamming Man, once again, thank you. He said in Surah 10, Moses prays for Pharaoh and his followers to have their hearts hardened and God obliges. Now, we know that's in the Hebrew Bible. We understand even Paul in the New Testament's using this. But it seems to be a clear statement. He's suggesting that Moses is asking God to harden their hearts. And, of course, God is doing so. The point is, can someone blame you if we were to hypothesize that the worldview is true, that Islam is true and God is in control? Can people blame you for why you are the way you are, what you believe the way you do? Wouldn't that be God doing? Or are they going to bring in the free will argument to try and say, no, you chose this. So when you come before Allah one day, he's going to look at you and go, well, I gave you everything and you had the option. Like, you really could have done this. Is that a modern idea, or you know what I mean? Like, how do you deal with that?
When you get into, so there's two different things with the free will argument. There's a free will argument from science, which is what I just presented.
Right.
Then there's the theology.
Right. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, the question was more about theology. So I kind of sidetracked on the science. The problem with the theology is that it's contradictory. On one hand, we have free will. On the other hand, Allah's decree, his qadr. And this is one of the most confusing topics in Islam, qada and qadr. Allah, like Black Angel said, predestined everything. The Hadith says the pen wrote down everything from the beginning of time until the day of judgment. Everything's been written down, predestined, pre-decreed. Yet on the other hand, supposedly we have free will. So this actually is very confusing. And there's been many sects Islamically that split up on this issue. There's the Jabarites, I think, and the Qadarites, and there's I don't even really know the details, the history there, but I do know there was multiple sects, and they all interpreted this thing differently. Some people said that the free will is basically just the intention, but the actual actions are created by God. Other people said that we have complete free will. Other people said that it's so contradictory and confusing, because how can you have free will and also everything is decreed? It doesn't make any sense. Either one or the other. So somehow in Islamic theology, yes, we have free will, yet also it's qadr. So now when God, when Allah says in the Quran, he guides whom he wills and he misguides whom he wills, he honors whom he wills and he debases. Yu'izzu man tasha wa tudillu man tasha. He honors and he dishonors people. Like, how is that my fault then if I'm misguided? I asked this question to a scholar once when I was Muslim. I said, what does that even mean if God misguides me? So how's that my fault? Mm-hmm. He's like, it means that God makes bad deeds easy for you and makes good deeds hard for you, or vice versa. And I'm like, okay. Can you make sense out of this? But yeah, his question makes sense. If God is the one that accepted, Moses' prayer, or even if you look at apostasy law, doesn't apostasy law take out the free will there? Like you're saying, in one hand, the Quran says, you can believe or disbelieve in Surah Kafirun. To you, this is one of the most quoted religions. To you, your religion. To me, my religion. So Surah Kafirun says you can disbelieve if you want. That's how Muslims interpret it, most common Muslims. However, at the same time, you kill people for leaving the religion. Quranists will say, no, you don't do that. You're not supposed to do that. Mm-hmm. But if you're Sunni and you believe in this law that can theoretically exist in an Islamic state, then how is this free will? Because you're taking away people's right. And by the way, I know ex-Muslims. I know people that leave Islam and they come back to Islam. So those people would be dead now. And supposedly they'd be in hell too, because they were killed on disbelief. So you've basically taken away the free will. It's such a contradictory mess, because what's the purpose of the test in life if God is the one that's kind of manipulating people? And, when I'm asking God to guide my father like I used to, because he was in the wrong sect, am I manipulating his free will? You know what I'm saying? Like, I was watching The Witcher, and he cast a spell on this woman that he loved so that she'll love him. Mm-hmm. And she's like, that's why I love you, because you cast a spell on me? Like, I hate your guts, right? Like, it didn't work. But if that's not real love, then if God is making you love him because someone it's just a mess, right? Like, how
Well,
do you make sense of this?
And this is where I come from, and then I want to bring one of our callers on and then go from there. But the reason why I come from the Christian worldview, right? But when I left, my entire like scholarship stuff that I've delved in is Hebrew Bible, ancient Near Eastern, Christian, which is at least 700 years, right, before Islam comes on the scene, or 700 years approximately. So I hear these in these texts that we have that are far older than what we see in Islam, and I start to see these same issues with Paul in the New Testament, the Hebrew Bible, and things like that, and I'm like, it's almost like what gets me a little bit confounded, and then I want to bring our caller on, is like I'm sitting here listening to them look at me. I get comments all the time from Muslims, you idiot, like you don't even know what you're talking about. You like, and I'm thinking to myself, I've seen this throughout all the literature that I have. This looks no different, but yours is right. And everyone else that I've looked at previous is somehow, either they got it wrong, it was abused, or they might say, there was a text that was accurate, we have no evidence of, that was mishandled by Jews and Christians and things like that. And I'm like, this is the same arguments I'm seeing within the Bible. So anyway, it's like, I don't think they know that I've already seen this stuff. And I've dealt with this for years. I debated the predestination stuff as a Christian, became a Calvinist, was convinced the Bible teaches, at least in certain places, God predetermined, et cetera, Romans 9, according to his own will, et cetera. So, all right, let's bring on our first caller.
Before you, one more last thing.
Yeah.
This is the same argument used against people that are ex-Ahmadis or ex-Shias. They say you are the wrong type of Muslim, but they don't realize it's the same foundation, the same issues. Okay, that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah. So I'll spread us out like this, and I'll bring on one caller at a time. I'm going to have a timer here, and then we'll go from there. So no more than, what do you think is a fair number of time?
Let's play it by ear. I don't know. I haven't done this on your channel before, so
yeah, I've done it with a few other, and it turned out successful. So if it is a successful day, let's keep doing these things. So please, callers, be respectful. And with the first one, we do have the Perfect Dawah, and I am going to make sure that we limit the time here. So be mindful when I bring you on that we want dialogue and not just a one-way street, 3-minute rant, and then like 20 seconds from the other person. So let's have a friendly conversation. All right. 5 minutes. Welcome the Perfect Dawah to Myth Vision.
Yeah. Hello. Thank you. Do you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I just would like to say that I'm so sorry that Abdullah, you blocked me just because I wanted to. I asked you, let's have a dialogue. You said that, oh, you are the reformist one. I don't want to talk to you. As if you just talked to extremists, and you blocked me for that. That was like those extremist Muslim who blocked me. You blocked me just for that. That was quite wrong. And I wanted to say as well that predestination is absolutely, as a Muslim, I don't believe in that. I have the free will. So you have misunderstood that the qadr or qadar, So this is it's a long discussion, and I want to choose the opportunity here and say that the Apostate Prophet, I'm looking for you for another debate with you, and I know that you ran away from me, but don't say anywhere that Muslims don't want to debate you. Just
4 minutes.
Yes, just I need to debate with you, and you know that this time is different. Those 2 times I was just having friendly dialogue with you, but this time I'm going to debate you, and you made a great mistake. Okay, so I just wanted to say that I don't believe that I was myself ex-Muslim, and I didn't know much about Islam until I grow older, and then I learned more. So many people said I'm an ex-Muslim. I don't believe that they are ex-Muslim, because by being born to a Muslim family, you are not a Muslim, as I wasn't a Muslim. Yes.
All right, 3 minutes left. If you'd like to respond, Abdullah.
Yes, I would. First of all, so I find it very petty when people come on channels like this begging for conversations. I'm just gonna say it, just gonna put it out there. Like, everyone has the right to choose who they want to talk to. Everyone has the right to choose how to use their time. Apostate Prophet was kind enough to have you on his channel. He gave you a full, 2-hour conversation with you. And that was his choice. And for you to come and, after he showed you that kindness to bring you on his channel and was respectful to you to come on Derek's channel and to say you're a coward and you're running away from me, like, that just looks cheap, man. That's just petty.
Okay.
Like, the personal issues about me blocking you, I have the right to choose who I want to talk to. And I didn't want to talk to you because you've been asking me for many years, let's talk. But I'm not interested in conversing with people like you, because my goal is I talk to people that believe the same way that I believed. What I believed, meaning they were Orthodox Sunni Muslims. I don't even talk about Ismailism. Like, I did that once on Apostate Prophet's channel, and that was fun. That was great. That was like going to my childhood, but I don't know the theology of Ismailism, so I don't talk about it. The same way, your theology, which you believe in, is very particular to you. That's totally up to you. Like, that's your thing. And I don't have anything to say to you. I don't have anything to say to Quranists, reformists, or whatever. I support the reform of Islam, of course, but I'm just not interested. So that's my right. Regarding the free will versus destiny, again, you can pick and choose things to make it to believe what you want to believe. Because again, my opinion, my belief is that the Quran and the Sunnah are contradictory because they're man-made. And so you can come up with many different conclusions, which is why we see the existence of different sects in Islam that believed different things about free will. They all disagreed on this fundamental thing. And when you ask scholars about it, they will say things like, don't think about it too much because it'll mess up your faith. This is what is taught to Muslim students or people that are asking questions about qada and qadar. Just don't worry about it. Just do yourself and just be Muslim, but don't think about this because it'll confuse you. And in my opinion, it confuses you because it's contradictory. So yeah, like, I'm not interested in talking to you. I'm especially not interested in talking to you when you come on someone else's show and say, oh, you're running away from me. Like, no thanks, but I'm happy to talk to you now since you're here. And I hope I covered your points that you were bringing up. That's all.
I would like to respond very fast.
Yeah, I'll give you a minute to respond, and then we're going to move to the other callers.
Yeah, in that case, even Apostate Prophet doesn't have the right to, say, I pay you $500, Ali Dawah, to, debate me. He's trying to bring Ali Dawah and other people, and I said it here because he doesn't allow me to say it, on his channel. Otherwise, and then I have to the right to talk to you because you just say everywhere that Islam says kill apostates. No, that's a big lie from you and ISIS, okay? And you don't know that ISIS and you spread extremism, okay? You say, if I don't kill you, look at your face, you say, if I don't kill you, I'm not a good Muslim. So you teach me to go and kill you. You teach me to go and beat my wife. That's absolutely wrong. So, okay, I see that you are not a serious person, even you are really terrible, actually, yes.
I don't say that. I do not say that.
You say that Islam says go and kill.
I'll let you finish. Yeah. I'll let you finish.
So 5 seconds, and then I'm letting you go. Hey, look, I got to say this. We're letting you go. Perfect Dawah. Keep believing the way you do. Because honestly, it's a nice, pretty view of faith, and I hope you continue to do that. Thank you for calling in, my friend. I
just want to say that they also spread this, extremist idea that a good Muslim has to go and kill apostates. A good Muslim has to beat his wife. They are lying like those scholars that lie.
Okay. Well, thank you, Perfect Dawah. I appreciate you.
Take care.
Have a good one. Bye. Okay, go ahead and respond, and we'll bring on the next caller.
Yeah, I want to, if I can just quickly do something. Sorry, 1 second.
You're fine.
Okay, so what I want to show you is I'm going to, well, first of all, the first thing he said was completely wrong. So let's just clarify that right here. I am equally against, as he is against, people that say a good Muslim beats his wife. I don't say that. I don't say an ideal Muslim is ISIS. If you've been following any of my content, I don't believe in true Islam. I don't believe there's any such thing as true Islam. I've always said, and this is one of my most, this is one of the things I emphasize more than anything else. Islam is basically the manifestation of a believer's interpretation and his following of the scholars, which are interpreting the religious texts. Islam is not what you find in a book on a shelf. I don't believe that. I believe Islam is a manifestation of a believer's like basically attempt at trying to connect to the divine through religious experience, through the interpretation of these holy books. So I don't believe that there is such a thing as a good Muslim is only a Muslim that beats his wife. Many Muslims would not say, I mean, the Quran says, yes, you can beat your wife. And yes, this is a very bad thing under any circumstance. But at the same time, that doesn't mean you have to do that. And that's not like a requirement of faith. You have to beat your wife. This is an option given to Muslims. I'm not apologizing or excusing it. What I'm saying is that it's not as simplistic as he's trying to say. And when he's trying to say, I've actually had debates with people about ISIS are true Muslims. I usually find that people that say this, they are trying to make Muslims look like the worst of the group. So basically, in every group, you have bad people, you have extremists, you have fundamentalists. ISIS are like the worst of the Muslim community. They are the absolute scum. And Muslims themselves hate ISIS. They're like, whatever, 1%, less than 1% of the Muslim population. Again, extremism is still a very bad thing, even if it's 1%, but it is a minority. So for someone to come and say the perfect Muslim is ISIS, you're basically becoming a theologian. You're doing theology and you're saying ISIS's interpretation of Islam is correct. And by the way, Khalil Andani actually had a good conversation with me about this. So if you talk, when you talk to him, bring up this point about ISIS being true Muslims, because I'm completely against it. Me and like Haris Sultan and I had a big debate about this way long ago. He used to say this, but then he agreed now that no, this is not correct to say this because again, ISIS is one interpretation. There are other interpretations which are not ISIS. The majority are not ISIS interpretations. So why would I say that? For him to say that I'm saying that means he doesn't know my content, right? Now, one more thing I want to show quickly, and then we can get to the next caller. When he said that I'm lying, can you share my screen, please? When he's saying that I'm lying about Islam saying this, how about we first of all look at the list of people that was killed? And this, I wrote this article years ago. The list is probably 50 pages now if I finish the list. Forget that. Let's say these are all bad Muslims that killed these ex-Muslims. Let's continue. There are a multiplicity of hadith that not just like all of these hadiths say that you should kill apostates. Then you have not just the hadith, you have scholarly interpretations, Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi, and Hanbali, as well as Shia schools that agree that apostates should be killed. Then you have modern scholars that say that apostates being killed. Again, with modern scholars, you'll find some that say the opposite too. Excuse me. And it's important to note that some scholars, such as Hamza Yusuf, would say you should not kill apostates because we don't want hudud law, meaning capital punishment. We don't want it to come back. We don't need it. It's to him, it's not an integral part of Islam. To Islamists, it's a very important part of Islam. To Pakistanis, most Pakistani Muslims, they believe in these things, right? So, and then of course we have a list of actual executions done during the life of Prophet. Okay, there's a bunch right there. And then, of course, I did include people against it as well, just to be fair. But, like, come on. Like, how can you call me a liar? Like, I'm not making this up. You might not agree with the interpretation of these hadith that literally says that Muhammad killed these people. You may not agree with these scholars. That's fine. But you can't call me a liar. What you are doing by actually calling me a liar is you are straw-manning the religion and saying that it's only what I believe. You are doing the same thing that ISIS does. Sorry to say, on the other side. ISIS says one thing, you're saying another thing. Both of you claim you're the only ones that are right. At least I'm being fair and showing the evidence for what it is. And you can decide for yourself if I got it wrong. I don't think I did. I don't think all these dead people did either, because obviously they were killed because of the religious teachings. Ask anyone that wants to implement blasphemy law why they're doing it. They're not doing it because it was a British law. They're not doing it because it's because of the religion. That's the only reason why you would kill a blasphemer, because they go against your religious teachings, right? They're saying something that's forbidden. So anyways, yeah, like, those are fighting words, so I had to respond with equal enthusiasm, but yeah.
Okay. Appreciate it, man. Thank you. Shout out to Ultra real quick for the super chat. Hey, Myth Vision Podcast, when you see this, can you shout out G Block? Don't know who G Block is.
Godless Block, he means.
Godless Block? Who's that?
Yeah. I guess that's us.
Oh, I have
don't
no I have no clue. Thanks for the super chat. All right, so we're gonna get to our next caller here in just a second. The G in G block stands for godless. Okay, got it. You see, you're ahead of me, man. You're way ahead of me. You see,
He's come on my channel before. Ultra.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate the support and all of that. For Muslims, if you want to call in, we have a couple callers. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the next one on. Here it is in the chat. Only if you are a Muslim. I don't want anyone else. This is a call-in show specifically for that, to talk with Abdullah Sameer. So I'm changing the time from 5 to 3 minutes. If it's interesting and you, Abdullah, think that this should continue, let me know, because 5 minutes was a bit long. Please try to make it conversative. Let's get directly into the conversation. And with that being said, welcome to the chat, Victor. How are you, my friend? Hey, Victor, you're on the air, man.
Can you hear me clearly or no?
Yes. It's delayed, though.
You should maybe turn off your camera.
Can you hear me, though?
Yeah, you might want to turn your camera off so that it doesn't break up.
Oh, I was just doing a shout out. I was just doing a... Hello?
Well, thank you. Hey, I appreciate the shout out, man. All right, it's breaking up. And Victor, if you hear me, man, I wanted Muslims who are going to come on and talk with Abdullah Sameer. So thanks for the shout out. Appreciate that. And you can private message me in the chat here. All right, our next caller is Cush. Welcome to Myth Vision, my friend.
Yes. How y'all doing?
Hey,
how you doing today?
Good. Are you
yes,
Muslim?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
But I got a comment and I got a question for Myth Vision and the guy over there.
Yes, sir.
Now you brought Bart Ehrman on your show, am I right?
Mm-hmm.
Now Bart Ehrman, he tries to say that the crucifixion of Jesus he actually believes it, right?
Right.
Well, the people he referenced, like Josephus and everything, was Josephus at the crucifixion? How does he know? Like, people back then said all kind of crazy things.
Mm-hmm.
So how can you just how can Bart Ehrman honestly say that happened if he wasn't there?
It's a good question. No, this is a good question. Let me ask you one back. All right. Let's grant that Bart Ehrman may be wrong about this. Let's say Mythicist could be right, or someone else might be right, or something. My question back would be, why would you trust something 700 years later about Jesus? What makes you convinced that that has the actual truth about Jesus? You see what I'm saying? The same kind of question you would have, like someone that close to the event, if they say that, let's just say the idea of Jesus being crucified in the Testimonium Flavianum, let's say that's partially true, or grant that a guy was actually crucified, and you're saying, I don't know, I can't really trust that. Why go 700 years into the future and say this book knows the truth about Jesus?
Okay, I was going to say this. You ever heard of the guy named Cellius? He was in the 2nd century. He wrote a book called Against the Christian.
You talking about Celsus?
Yeah, Celsus. I'm sorry. I'm saying,
it's either way. Celsus, Celsus. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And a guy wrote a book. We have his excerpts. Mm-hmm. His in one of his excerpts, he said this man Jesus died in the way of these other mythical gods, right? So that's letting you know that the story right there about Jesus dying it's a pagan story about him dying on the cross.
So real quick, Celsus isn't doing that. Justin Martyr is one of the early Christian apologists who's trying to compare it to the pagan world to try and get pagans to convert to Christianity by saying, well, look, we believe in him like you do your Apollo and all these other gods. But Celsus isn't making that. Celsus is actually talking about an actual guy he's claiming who was born even of a Roman soldier sleeping with Mary and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
No. I was going to say with Celsus, no, he in his book, he did say the guy you follow named Jesus was killed. Like he lists these other Greek gods of the time. He said it's just like that. So what I'm trying to say is if you study ancient paganism, ancient religions, all the people and Native Americans and their king, their leaders would die. So I'm saying it's a pagan story. So the Quran makes more sense to me. That's what I'm saying. To me, that
do you have a question for Abdullah? Because I don't. He's the guest today, and in particular, I'm trying to make sure that we can get him discussed, because these can be brought up anytime. For me, I'll just end on this, and then I'd like to know if you have anything for Abdullah. I would be cautious on taking anything 700 years later or 600 and something years later as having accurate information when we have stuff right out the gate by the followers who believed in this. Everybody's got all sorts of ideas about Jesus. The last thing I would do is believe something 600 years or more, you know what I mean, later, to try and tell me this is factual. That's my opinion. But do you have anything for Abdullah?
Yes, I would like to know his opinion on the crucifixion, and I just don't buy the crucifixion story. I don't trust Bart Ehrman, but I'd like to know what he thinks about it. Is it real or false, or how does he see it, or fictitious?
What do I think about the crucifixion? I would defer to academics on this topic. I don't think we have any reason to doubt it, so I would say it happened. What the Islamic narrative is kind of weird. It says that a crucifixion happened, but it wasn't a crucifixion of Jesus. So Allah tricked people into seeing Jesus being crucified. If you ask me, it appears that this story is a very much post hoc rationalization and a way to fit the theology of Islam to be compatible with Christianity by denying the fact that Jesus was crucified. Because if it looked like Jesus was crucified on the cross and people saw that and Allah says, oh, I made it look like him, what would be the point of tricking people like that to think that? Why would you do that? And because of that, people worship Jesus. So Allah basically is responsible for Christianity, according to this logic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but I was going to say, like, we're talking about Flavian Josephus talk about Jesus. What they say, some of that was a forgery of what he said, or something about, I think he said was born of a virgin. They say that stuff is, who's to say that what them people in the first century, that stuff could be for. I don't trust the Vatican, and I don't trust a lot of this early stuff criticizing Christianity. They burnt up. So how can you trust any of the Christian sources?
I didn't appeal to any Christian sources here either, but I don't really get what your question is. Are you saying I'm claiming that? Anyways, I think this is beyond my pay grade to talk about the history of the crucifixion. That's not what I talk about.
I think what Abdullah said, and we'll end on this note, is what I thought was interesting is how you're saying that the Quran itself is saying that Allah made it look like Jesus got crucified. Cush would agree with that. Yes, I'm a Muslim. I believe that. But what Abdullah is saying has a much deeper implication than I think you're realizing. And what that is Allah is tricking all of these people into believing in Christianity, which for now, I don't think it's going to remain that way, but for now is the number one most, more people believe in that than any religion in the world. And Allah actually created that by tricking people into believing in this religion, by believing he was crucified. And then, of course, I would suspect more, whatever they actually come to believe, the crucifixion, the resurrection, all of that is Allah kind of misguiding people to believe in those things. And that's what Abdullah is trying to say. He created this religion in a sense. Even if you're not a determinist, let's say you're trying to fight free will, the Quran clearly says he's tricking people into believing that he was crucified. Now, why would he do that? And then 700 years later, give people the truth? Like, why didn't he tell people 300 years or 200 years or, give these ideas? Why didn't he clearly make this message clear, but waited 700 years later to do so?
All I'm gonna say, man, is I think Christianity is pagan, and thanks for taking my call.
Thank you for calling, my friend. I appreciate it.
I say that Islam is equally, if not more, pagan. If you believe that, all of the stuff that happens, especially regarding the Kaaba, it's all very pagan. We have references of Muslims feeling uncomfortable doing some of these things. For example, in Umrah, you do something called sa'i, which means you run between these two mountains, Safa and Marwa. On each of these mountains in the pre-Islamic times, there was an idol, right? And there's a story behind it. Basically, these guys were lovers, and they were turned to stone or something. And so when Muhammad came, he Islamicized the sa'i, and he made it an Islamic ritual, right? And changed the story to make it like a halal version. So basically, instead of the idols, it became Hagar or Hajar, was running back and forth looking for water because her baby was dying of thirst or whatever. And then it became an Islamic thing. But the companions were like, and the Quran says, no, Safa and Marwa are the symbols of Allah. So basically, it confirmed the paganism and made it not pagan anymore. Yeah. I mean, going around the Kaaba 7 times, kissing this black, like all of it is very pagan. So if you, I don't have any words for you.
Yeah, it's interesting. I love exploring like what influence did Christianity, Judaism, and such have on early Islam, which is why I've had the scholars on, and I'm going to continue to try and learn more. I really find it fascinating. I don't usually get involved in this like apologetics, since like that's a whole different thing in Islam. But I like to get into the historical questions and look at it like detective, like what human activities behind this and how much paganism did play a role. A super chat before we take our caller. Stop scamming, man. Thank you for the super chat. And this is a very common sense, I think, point. Under the reign of Roman governor in the Near East, about 20 years before Jesus, 2,000 people were crucified, hardly a death particular myths. So I think looking at the first century, under what's going on in Judea, of course, in Rome, period, especially under Judea, we see Romans actually crucifying Jews, many Jews. So whether you want to, that's why it's like, is it worth disputing what the historical situation was and that real crucifixions were really happening to people all the time? Well, I think Islam would say, yeah, or Muslims would say, yeah. We grant that. What we're saying is in that act of Jesus, he wasn't really crucified, but he was replaced and Allah tricked them or whatever. That creates a bigger problem, I think, a problem that isn't really addressed and what we were talking about. So thank you, Stop Scamming Man. Thank you, Abdullah, for answering that and making me think a little bit. So we'll bring our next guest on here. And as we do, I'm going to put the chat here. If you're Muslim, feel free to call in. Don't worry. Abdullah doesn't bite as long as you don't bite first. So if you're friendly, like, we love that. Thank you. All right. Whysthetruth, welcome to Myth Vision, my friend.
Yeah. What's going on, man?
Hey, are you a Muslim?
No, I practice chemicism.
So you're not a Muslim?
Well, that depends. Like, I consider myself a person of peace, and if that's what Islam is considering, in this etymology, then I guess I am.
I'm looking for Muslims, mostly Muslims, my friend. I plan on doing some open conversation shows in the future, but if you would call back on those shows, this one in particular, I want to deal with Muslims, like active, people who are studying the Quran, believe in the Quran and such.
Right. Well, simply I heard, you guys talking about, certain origins and things like that. That's particularly what I wanted to ask about, because I don't know much about Islam, but, I've studied a fair amount, but in my knowledge is I see origins that go back to indigenous Africa in all of these, Christianity, Judaism. And my only question is, how come they ignore these things? How come they choose not to?
Who is they?
You broke up. It broke up. Anyway, I got one rule. Be a Muslim and call in, please.
Guys, Derek said it here first. He has one rule. You have to convert to Islam. You have to be Muslim, right? You said that.
People would, you know what? I'm a Muslim for today. I'm going to call in. No, I don't want that either. I want to have people who are actually following Islam and stuff. We'll do follow-up shows down the road where we hang out and you can bring whatever to the table and have conversation. But I really am asking current Muslims to please join and have a conversation with you. Sid Dave, thank you for the super chat. Kaaba, Ramadan, all are carryovers from paganism to Islam. That is why it was so easy for 7th century Arabs to become Muslim. All Muhammad did was get rid of all the extra gods. Everything else is the same. Do you agree with that?
Not exactly the same. No, he changed it, right? It's a syncretic mix of paganism, Judaism, and a little bit of Christianity thrown in there. Muhammad did reform a bunch of things. He changed a bunch of laws, some of them positive, some of them negative. He introduced zakat. That was not a thing. Zakat is 2.5% mandatory kind of like withholding tax that is paid to poor people and for jihad and for spreading the religion and other. It has a good meaning behind it. It's supposed to be charity. Then he also took away some of the rights that women had. For example, a woman in pre-Islamic Arabia could take her tent and turn it around, which means she was divorcing the man. She could initiate divorce. Under Islam, a woman cannot initiate divorce. She can request an annulment, and then she loses her dowry. And it's not the same. Like, men have all the right to divorce in Islam, not women. So it is actually a modification. Like, it's not just pure. There were some other bad things he took away. For example, it says in the Quran itself that there used to be this sort of thing where a man would inherit his wife to his, I forget how that even works, but there's some weird thing they used to do where they would pass on women from generation to generation or something like that, like property. This was annulled. The Quran prohibits prostitution, but it allows sex slavery. So it's not exactly paganism, right? Because I do 100% agree that a lot of this stuff did come from paganism. For example, there's actually an excellent article on this. If I can just quickly find it. Basically, the cultural milieu of Arabia was the basis for much of Muhammad's religion. And I'll just quickly find that article if you want to make a comment while I look for that quickly.
Yeah, just I'm looking for callers, and there's nobody in the chat yet, so we're going to continue talking. But one of the things I've been doing is exploring these kind of questions. How much paganism did influence? Because there's a lot of mythology. Even Muslims will admit a lot of the narratives are mythology, later inventions and things like that. And that's, I mean, we're getting somewhere. But this is where, like, Abdullah, the father of Muhammad, there's this tale where he was supposed to be sacrificed or something. And, like, the witch doctor with the arrows comes and throws out these arrows and pretty much kept landing on him, saying, you need to sacrifice him. You vowed to sacrifice him. And next thing you know,
yeah, that was Abdul Muttalib with his son Abdullah, right?
Right. Yeah. I don't know the names. I'm horrible.
The grandfather, the grandfather of Muhammad. Mm-hmm.
It's a really interesting story because it's painting it like it was so pagan before. But when I asked the experts, they would say that these are mythological, legendary narratives. And often what happens is everything's in darkness. Whenever new religion's coming on the scene, everybody's in darkness until the prophet or the one. Like, Judaism was in complete darkness in the New Testament till Jesus comes on the scene. The Hebrew Bible is like, look, everything's in complete darkness. Then Abraham comes on the scene and he gets rid of the idols. It's this idea that complete paganism and then boom, truth. That's what happens in the New Testament. This seems to be what's happening also with Muhammad. And how factual is it that there's a lot of this paganism going on, prior to that happening? Real quick, I got a super chat, and then we do have a caller.
Okay.
David the Goliath, thank you for the super chat. The Khadijah had lived, there was no way Muhammad would have dared to come up with wife beating verse. She would have beaten the hell out of him. Laugh out loud. Thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. Did you want to make that comment though?
Yeah, when I find it, I'll share. We'll just continue.
Okay, we'll take our caller then.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Welcome to Myth Vision, Sheik Yabooty.
Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala ya Rasulullah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Yeah, I have some comments. I have some comments for your friend here who still calls himself Abdullah. Why does he call himself Abdullah? He's a murtad. He's a kafir. He's an apostate, disbeliever. He should call himself something else. He should call himself Abdul Shaitan, or I don't know, servant of Shaitan, servant of kafir, servant of white people, of European people. Why does he call himself Abdullah? I want to ask your friend Abdullah here, why, if he doesn't believe in Islam, then who created him? You can't answer this. Huh? You can't answer this question. If you don't believe in Allah, then who created you?
My mom and dad.
You worship mom and dad?
No.
So who created you?
I worship nobody.
Then who created you? You can't answer this question, right? Because you know Islam is true, but you are jealous. You are jealous. You're doing this for money.
What version of Islam are you, Yabooty?
Alhamdulillah, I'm Sunni Muslim. I follow only true Islam. I follow the Quran and the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And you follow your own desires. You follow sex and alcohol and drugs and women. That's it.
Pretty much.
Someone's going to clip that. They're going to clip that and think that's real. That's how ridiculous. The videos I've seen online are really out there. But anyway, I don't want to be mocking you, Yabooty.
Shake your booty.
Shake your booty.
Shake your booty.
Did you have any other challenges for Abdullah? Because
yes. Well, of course I have. Of course I have. And I know he's not going to be able to answer this one. Abdullah or Abdul Shaitan. Since you don't believe in Islam, why don't you explain to me, why don't you have sex with your mother if you don't believe in Islam?
What? I never thought about that before.
Well,
I don't know why Muslims always ask this question.
There's nothing wrong with it.
Is this like one of the top questions on like people's minds? Like, it's like they have a list, a checklist. When I leave Islam, number one. I mean, to be fair, I don't actually think people think like this. I think this is a question that's meant to like stump atheists, because
you can't answer the question.
I can't answer the question.
Wow, that's a serious question. I did not know that was a question.
That's asked. People ask this all the time. It's like, it's objective morality thing. Oh, everything is halal for you now, right? So why don't you do this and why don't you do that? And
so why don't you answer the question? You can't answer the question.
Why don't you answer the question? Because I don't want to.
You can't answer the question because you have no answer. Because alhamdulillah, we have Islam. Because of Islam, I know that I'm not supposed to have sex with my mother. Although without Islam, what would I do?
I don't know.
What would you do? Next question, Sheik Yabooty.
Yeah. See, you can't answer this question. So this is the second question that you can't answer, because by Sheik Yabooty, alhamdulillah. Another question is, Abdullah, how do you go to the toilet now that you are not Muslim anymore?
I still wash myself. I think that's a good thing. I actually kept it.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. Only because of Islam do you have this purity. That's all I have to say, Derek.
Wow.
That's all I have to say, Derek. As you can see, Islam is, alhamdulillah, absolutely true. It is clearly beautiful. Clearly, it is wonderful. Not even Abdullah himself can deny it. You have seen him. You have seen it here yourself. He said it is great. It is fantastic. It is beautiful. Islam is true because he cannot refute Islam. He cannot answer my simple questions. This means, alhamdulillah, you have seen that Islam is true. Now, Derek, my dear brother in humanity, inshallah, I want to invite you to Islam. So will you please accept Islam now?
Right now?
Yes.
What are you offering me for me to accept Islam right now?
Well, right now you spend your time in the world, I'm sure, having sex with like thousands of women, partying all day, every day. If you have to stop doing that, so then you will go to Jannah, you will go to heaven, and there you will then have sex with as many women as you want, and they will all be much more beautiful than everything you have seen here. You will have rivers of wine, endless refills, and just unlimited pleasure, and you will worship Allah. That's it. But you have to pray and fast and abide by all the rules of Islam. And if you leave Islam, then you're
not supposed to tell him that part. That's a big mistake.
Sorry.
You were just playing.
Yeah. So do you accept Islam now, Derek?
I got to think about this one. If you don't mind, do I have some time to think about it, or are you absolutely forcing me right now to make a decision?
Well, you might die, so you better make a quick decision, because you don't want to die.
You don't know what happens in the next moment. In the next moment, look, this is right now call 54 minutes on your live stream. 55 minutes, you might suddenly not be able to breathe anymore, and then the angels might come and take you away, and then you will go to Jahannam and burn there forever because you did not believe in Islam.
And
so,
can I ask some questions back? Is that okay?
Not too much. Yeah.
Okay. Not too much. How do you know? How do you know that this is true? How do you know that there's a heaven waiting with endless women and rivers of wine? How do you know it's true?
Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us that this is true.
Is that like it's just the Quran though, and like your experience that tells you that?
What
it's
do you mean
true?
just the Quran? The Quran is the most beautiful book.
That's a book.
Nobody can write anything like it.
Yeah.
Go and try to write something like the Quran, Derek. Go and write. Everyone has tried. So in 1,400 years, nobody has been able to write something as beautiful and as great as the Quran. Go try. You will be put to shame, and then you will, alhamdulillah, see the truth and accept Islam. That's all I have to say.
So then give me the opportunity to try and write something better than the Quran.
Are you crazy?
Well, if you do, you'll get executed.
Yeah. You don't want to
Oh,
do
that's
that.
true.
That's
That's
the
true.
challenge. The real challenge is staying alive after doing it.
Yeah. You cannot
Wow.
do it, and you're not allowed to do
cannot,
it.
and you're not
You're not
allowed
allowed to
do it.
try it.
So how can we validate? How can we verify these things without dying? I mean,
It's very easy.
difficult.
It's all in your heart. Look, listen, Derek. You don't know this. You are ignorant, poor, non-Muslim.
Right.
A'udhu billah. May Allah protect us all from going astray. So what you don't know is that before Allah created us, Allah made an agreement with us and said, "Am I not your Lord?" And we all said, "Yes, you are." And then He sent us up on the earth and gave us a test where we have to believe or disbelieve. If you are true to yourself, you will look into your heart and you will realize that back in the day, or back before the day, you gave Allah a promise and you said, yes, you are my Lord. This is inside, deep in your heart, and that's why you know that Islam is the truth. Alhamdulillah, you don't need anything else. So,
yeah, I was
accept
actually
Islam
told
now.
this too. I was told that when I asked this question, well, you already agreed to it, dumbass.
Yeah,
Like, what?
yeah.
I did? Yeah, it's in the Quran. I'm like, okay, I guess I did.
Wow.
And the mountains, brother, the mountains. Now I'm bringing back my Islamic beliefs. Sheikh Yabooty has inspired me. Even the mountains rejected this. But us
Alhamdulillah,
humans,
yeah.
Alhamdulillah, but us humans,
Subhanallah.
us pitiful humans, we don't understand the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
It seems like you've converted back all of a sudden, Abdullah.
Oh my God.
Look
The
how beautiful
iman
it
is
is.
coming
Allah
back.
subhanahu wa ta'ala gave this duty to the mountains, and the mountains said, "Oh Allah, please don't give it to us. We will crumble." And Allah didn't give it to the mountains. The mountains were wise, but humans are stupid idiots. So humans accepted this responsibility, and Allah said to us, "Okay, if you accept the responsibility, I am your Lord. Now I will create you, and you will believe or disbelieve and die. And those who disbelieve, I already know who will disbelieve because I wrote everything. But then I will send you to hell and you will burn there forever. And those who keep their word and believe in me, they will go to heavens. Oh, and they will have sex with so many huri and rivers of wine and all that. Not sex with rivers of wine. They will have sex with the women and then drink rivers of wine. Whatever. You get it.
So I have to ask you a serious question though, Yabooty.
Subhanallah. Yeah.
You're according to Islam, the Bible's corrupt.
Alhamdulillah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's corrupt. But,
Yes.
and there was an early version or some version that wasn't corrupt at one point.
Alhamdulillah. Yes.
How do you know that?
Allah tells us it's true.
Like, even if we can't find any of that evidence of an earlier non-corrupted version.
What is evidence? What is your problem with evidence, Derek? What is with evidence? Evidence. What is evidence? You're supposed to have faith, iman, believe in Islam. What did I just tell you? You made an agreement with Allah. Forget about evidence, questions, answers. This is we don't know when people corrupted the Bible. They corrupted the Bible. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Holy Quran, and we accept it as it is. Finished.
So you win, no matter what.
Yes.
Is it possible you can be wrong?
No, because I have Allah by my side. Alhamdulillah, I am right.
The way you just said, I am right. I can't get over this, man. This is amazing. I'm kind of inspired. I'm not gonna lie.
Subhanallah. Yeah.
Kind of inspired, man.
See, this is the power of confidence. I am confident, and people see this. People see the truth of Islam just in our speech when we speak the truth on behalf of Islam, and when we deliver the words of Allah. You will just this stream, Derek. Because of this stream, how many people are watching? 200, 300? Many people
300.
here will see the truth of Islam and the beauty, and they will convert to Islam tonight. And this will be very beneficial. And Alhamdulillah.
Do you have anything else for Abdullah before we go?
I hope may Allah guide him. May Allah guide you. Otherwise, may Allah destroy you. That's all I want to say.
Well, thank you for either or answers, and I appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Sheik Yabooty.
Shake your booty, shake your booty, shake your booty. Have a good day.
Until next time.
Bye.
Bye. That was funny, man. Oh, man. Thank you for showing up. I appreciate it. That was hilarious. Just taking a side note here, you know. So, okay, we've got a few more callers, but I got a super chat.
Okay, go ahead. Go take the super chat, and then I'll share what I want to share.
Cashapp W, I hope I'm saying your name properly. Thank you for the super chat. Abdullah, your advice for Muslim who want to leave Islam but need to hide due to marriage, conservative spouse life, and children. Okay to hide and be Muslim?
Yeah, this is a tough one, man. Everyone's situation is different. Everybody has, different. Like people have to decide for themselves how much they're willing to put up with, what they're willing to go through. And, for example, some people might say that, okay, I'm okay with pretending to be Muslim to everyone around me, including my wife. And I'm okay with that. It depends. Are you in a Muslim country? Are you in a non-Muslim country? Worst case, if you do decide to tell the truth, then is that more important to you and possibly losing your wife? Like, is that because that is a possibility, right? Like, I had to undergo this same experience, and I decided, just the way I am, like, I can't hide who I am. So I just told my wife, and that was it. Like, in the beginning, it was like, yeah, I have some questions, but eventually it became clear that I don't believe this. So I can't pretend to believe it just because of someone else in my life. And so I accepted what happened out of that, and and it was fine, and the marriage didn't break because of that, but it could have. So it's a very personal question, and I'm not sure exactly where you are and what the situation is and what you're willing to put up with.
Thank you for the super chat. And
can I share something?
Yeah.
Or once you're done with that, go ahead.
Give my blessings to Sheik Yabooty. Thank you so much, Raymond. I appreciate that. And yeah. that was a trip having Sheik on.
So I'll share this in the private chat if you can just post it as well. But this is an amazing article that goes into the influence of of pre-Islamic Arabia on Islam. This is a golden article. Like, this is excellent content. So if people want to check that out, we were asking about that earlier. I found this on Twitter. This guy Ahab, he's amazing. Like, he's doing excellent work. He's a researcher, Ahab Barawi. Anyways, he studies this stuff for a living. So, like, this is like amazing stuff, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for that super chat for Sharik. Hello, Sheik Yabooty from cousin Sheik Muboob. Thank you.
Sheik Muboob.
We've got a Muslim in the chat, and I'm gonna put the timer on in just a second, 3 minutes, and I'd be happy to bring everybody on here. Sorry, pulling up the timer. And welcome to Myth Vision, Rashid.
I'm on now.
What?
Welcome to Myth Vision.
Hello,
Rashid. Welcome to Myth Vision. Did you have something for Abdullah?
Hey, hello. Thank you for having me.
Hey, welcome. Did you have a question for Abdullah?
Yes, thank you very much for having me, Derek.
Thank you for joining. You have a little bit of echo in the background.
No, I just wanted to actually thank him for. No, I just wanted to thank him for such a great, the great content that he puts out on his channel. That I learned a lot from his videos, and especially
you're
his videos on with Abdullah Gondon. I mean, I found them actually very inspiring, and they were very, very well researched, and everything that he talked about, I found that very, very exciting.
Thank you for the compliment, but I'm trying to get Muslim callers to call in. I appreciate the compliment. I'm not going to turn it down at all, of course, but thank you for the support, and I appreciate it. We'll get to the next caller then. Thank you so much, Rashid. All right. I'm trying to get Muslims. I don't mean offense, but we need to try and keep it as focused on that as possible, please. Our next caller is Nader. I'm going to start the timer here in just a second. And welcome to Myth Vision.
Hi.
Hello. Are you a Muslim?
Yeah, I'm Muslim. Nice
Welcome
to meet you
Myth
guys.
Vision. Nice to meet you. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks. I'm calling from very far. I'm from South Africa.
Awesome. Okay. Anything you have for
so-
Abdullah?
Yeah, just I think because since he presents himself as an ex-Muslim, probably the topic of apostasy must be probably one of his favorite topics. Something that I know from the Quran, which is very clear. If you open, there's just one simple verse. If you open it, it's 4:137. It's Surah 4:137. I'm just going to read it to you. It says, "Those who believe, then disbelieve, then again believe and again disbelieve, then they increase in disbelief. Allah will not forgive them, nor will guide them on the right path." So that's it. No mention of punishment, no mention of killing or any kind of retaliation against them. So there is nothing in the Quran which says that a person should be killed solely, uniquely, just for leaving Islam. It doesn't exist. I will show you just another verse. Even if you go to the sayings of the Prophet in the Hadith, and even the scholars, which probably he knows about, the context in which they make their statements, it's always about political apostasy in times of wars.
1 minute left.
Yeah, it's always political apostasy in times of wars. So, for example, you're in a state of conflict between two communities. You leave your community you leave Islam, but not only this, you leave your community and you join the other community. Then, like with any state, like a deserter or anybody, for example, if you go to World War II or any kind of war, a deserter is somebody who is eligible for the death penalty. So this is exactly the kind of context in which the scholars were making their, and this is known. It's difficult to develop upon this like that, but I just wanted to make to just throw a verse like this to make it clear, like how it's established in the Quran, and
So
also to clarify a little bit.
Can we have Abdullah respond back with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All
No problem. Go ahead and Abdullah, did you want to go ahead and respond?
Yeah. Can you share my screen?
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm assuming. Okay. So I did kind of show this earlier on that I have an article on this topic. So the first issue I was going to ask you was, are you a Quranist? But then you said no. You affirm the Hadith.
Of course.
So, yeah. So the Quran itself has a verse in the. Okay, actually, what am I saying? Abu Bakr himself understood that anyone that rejects zakat, the Ridda wars that happened after Muhammad died, he said, this is what happened. It's narrated, Anas bin Malik said, when the Messenger of Allah died, the Arabs apostatized. So Omar said, "Oh, Abu Bakr, how can you fight the Arabs?" Abu Bakr said, the Messenger of Allah said, "I've been commanded to fight the people until they bear witness there's none worthy of worship except Allah, and that I am the Messenger of Allah, and they established Salah and paid Zakat. By Allah, if they withhold from me even a young goat that they used to give to the Messenger of Allah, I will fight them for it." Omar said, by Allah, as soon as I realized how certain Abu Bakr was, I knew that it was the truth. This is an example of Abu Bakr considering that anyone that even rejects one pillar of Islam, which to him was the zakat, the money, the money that was coming to Beit al-Mal, that was coming from all the different people, he said, I'll fight them for it. I just have a couple of hadith here to show you.
All right, can I just answer this, please? Because he
Okay.
just mentioned one hadith. Can I just answer him on this one?
I think the my
No, wait, because he
position
mentioned,
is based
he
on.
mentioned.
Yeah, one second. I think I have more than just one hadith to show you.
No, but can
And
I
you'll
just
see
answer
that-
you on that before you continue?
Okay, sure.
Yeah, thank you very much for allowing me. Listen, I'm not very used to this format, so I just, if I make a mistake or something, you just tell me. I just want to say, like you said, imagine you're, I don't know in which country you are. Let's say you're in the States, in America.
Canada.
All right, Canada. You decide to stop paying your contributions, your taxes, all right? And you really rebel against this. Not only you don't want to pay it, but you rebel and you actually organize an armed conflict against the government because you don't want to pay the taxes. And this is exactly what happened during the Ridda Wars that you're mentioning. So this, you see, I just want to say to the host of the show that there is a little bit of knowledge that is necessary when you invite people who have, who will throw a lot of information in a very, very biased way, because you can clearly see the way he was theatrical in his way of presenting the information. It sounded exactly like what he wanted it to sound. But once I explained it to you,
I don't understand what you mean exactly. Can you tell me what you mean by that?
Yeah, what I'm saying is that he mentioned a situation where there was a first caliph. His name was Abu Bakr, right? He engaged in war against a group of Muslims, not apostates, Muslims, all right? Because they decided to stop paying the zakat. The zakat is a tax, all right? It's a religious tax that you have to pay for the Muslim state. You know, it's like any kind of tax. You know, when you have a state, you have to pay your taxes, all right? So they decided, like after the death of the Prophet, you know, this is what happens when a charismatic leader dies. You have people who become disenchanted, who want to leave the religion or want to start doing whatever, you know, making up their own rules. They didn't agree with Abu Bakr. They said, okay, we decide to stop paying the zakat, the tax, all right? So that's why he wanted to fight them, not because of some apostasy or something. They were not apostates. So this was my point.
Isn't it called the Ridda Wars? Why is it called the Ridda Wars if they're not murtad? These are murtadeen. They apostate. They apostatize. They rejected the religion by leaving one of the pillars.
No, not religion. They rejected. You said.
Hold on, gentlemen.
Yeah.
So let's do one at a time. Abdullah, ask your question, then let him respond, and then let Abdullah speak. I don't want you guys to. No one can understand. So
if I reject one of the pillars of Islam, let's say I don't believe in zakat anymore, I'm not going to pay zakat, or I give up praying and I say there's no more salah in Islam, would you consider me a Muslim still? I'm a non-salah Muslim. Am I still Muslim?
I know plenty of Muslims who don't pray or who pray.
Don't pray. Reject prayer. Reject. I'm talking about theologically. Say, I will not pray. It is not part of Islam to pray. I'm talking about rejecting, because scholars have talked about this. They say that yes, someone that's, you know, lapse in his prayer, he slips, he forgets, but he feels guilty about it. That's okay, and he's a sinner. But if someone rejects the salah or any of the pillars of Islam, now we're getting into the scholarly interpretation. The reason I quoted this hadith is because this is what the scholars use in order to justify the killing. This is one of the proofs they use. I'm not trying to strawman the religion. I'm going based on what the scholars themselves use as a reference or a justification for how even Abu Bakr, I mean, like, again, you can interpret it differently if you want to, but from what I understand, the people that apostatize, they apostatize from the religion after Muhammad died, and he had to bring them back. Now, this is only just one of my points. Derek, what he was trying to say was I was being theatrical, meaning I was reading the Quran with emphasis. Like when I said, I will fight those who who do not
You
bear
were reading the
witness
hadith.
and not
You're
worship
reading the
of
hadith,
worthy.
not the Quran. Okay.
Yeah, but the point I was trying, no, but the point I was trying to make is think about how, think about the consequences of this. You're willing to kill someone because they are now no longer believing what you believe. First you said it's not in the Quran, then I'm quoting hadith, now you're saying this hadith doesn't justify that. I have lots of other hadiths.
No. Sorry, please. Don't look. You're better than me in debating. It's not my format. I don't know how to, I can't manipulate people. I can't manipulate words. I'm not very strong in this. I told you a verse from the Quran. Until now, I started with this. You didn't comment on it. I gave a very simple verse which says, where it says, they believed in the 4 verse 4, Surah 4, 137. You can open it and look at it again. It says that people believe and disbelieve multiple times in a short time and throughout their life.
Yes.
And there is absolutely nothing is prescribed against them. And I just want to say again, regarding the hadith that you're mentioning, they didn't reject the principle of zakat. That's not what they rejected. The principle of paying the religious tax. That's not what they were against. They were against the authority of Abu Bakr, because they were disenchanted Muslims that just lost their prophet, and a charismatic leader that just died. It's bound to happen. It happens with any kind of movement like this. So
it's okay
what
to
they
kill
did
people?
What they did is that they didn't want to pay to him. They didn't recognize him as a leader. So that's why he had to fight them as the leader of the Muslim state. So any kind of government will go after anybody who doesn't want to pay his taxes. This is undisputed. Some others will want to, depending on which government, on which time you're talking about, religious or not, will want to kill or imprison or torture until you pay your dues. You're living in a community where you're taking advantage of everything in the community, you pay. So that's just simple as this. I just want to, if you have maybe another argument, you can tell me maybe something I don't know about, because this one.
So Abdullah, do you want me to go ahead? Are we done the conversation?
No, I don't mind. I don't mind commenting, because I didn't.
We
really
do
get to
have. I'm
respond to
just
that.
saying we do have someone in the chat. When you're ready.
So okay. So regarding this point, what was I gonna say? Like I said, let's put aside what I said. Let me grant you that you're right, and these guys are not, even though it's the Ridda wars, and let's say you're right, these guys are not apostates. They didn't reject zakat, they rejected Abu Bakr, and in response he wanted to fight them until they all submitted to his rule. And he quoted that what the Prophet said, that and by the way, you were saying, hold on a second, this is actually in the Quran, about fighting the people until they basically, the jizya verse, right? Let me find it. The verse,
the jizya has nothing to do with apostasy. I'm sorry.
I know. But what I'm saying is that this is also a quote in the Quran, that I've been commanded to fight the people until they bear witness there's no God except me, and
that's
I'm
not in the Quran, mister. I'm sorry. That's hadith.
Okay, so let me find it. I submit. 1 second. Easy to find, because you just have to find the 1 second. Where is it?
You have nothing like this in the Quran. I'm just telling you as a friendly advice. I'm not trying to debate or win or anything. In the Quran, you have nothing that says that somebody has to be killed for leaving Islam. It doesn't exist.
That I know. But what I was.
I just want to help you with something. There is something that hints a little bit to what you want. All right. It's in the same chapter which I already mentioned, where the verse that you still didn't comment about, where it says that you can leave and come back multiple times.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that. Okay, let me talk about that.
Right. So I just want to tell you the verse that maybe could help you a little bit. That's the only one which could help you a little bit. If you scroll in the same chapter, which is Surah 4, if you go to the passage from verse 80 to 90, it speaks of a particular group of Muslims, the hypocrites. Okay, this is something that many people who read the Quran know about. The hypocrites.
Yeah, so I'm not arguing the Quran is saying that. That's not my position at all. Can you share my screen, Derek?
Absolutely.
Just to go back to the verse I was talking about when I said I was quoting actually a verse in the Quran. When Abu Bakr was quoting this, I've been commanded to fight the people until they bear witness is none worthy of worship except Allah. This is also in the Quran. Fight those who do not believe in Allah in the last day, do not consider unlawful what Allah and His Messenger have made unlawful, and fight them until they give the jizya willingly and are humble. So the Islam is, now I agree with you that this is not about apostates. I never made the argument that the Quran itself is what is talking about apostasy. The verse you talked about, was it 489 you said? I saw that in the chat.
4137. But before continuing, can we talk about just this verse that you just mentioned?
Okay, sure.
Because this verse, it clearly says that fight those, etc., etc., etc. I'm not going to go into the detail about why and everything and the context, but it says at the end, if they pay, then leave them alone.
Mm-hmm.
It means they can be whatever they want. They pay, leave them alone. For example, you live in Canada, all right? Mm-hmm. You're not, I don't know, let's imagine that Canada was a Christian fundamentalist state. Mm-hmm. And you're not, okay, you're some other kind of religion. And you decide to pay, then nobody does anything to you. You don't want to pay, you keep your, if you pay, you keep your belief. You're free to keep your belief, whatever it is, even if it's against the state. All right, okay, that's basically what the verse is saying.
No,
that's it.
The thing is that the Prophet Muhammad used to send an army, and he said in the Hadith, I give them 3 options. Number 1 is they convert to Islam. Then of course they're paying zakat, so they're sending money back to the Baitul Mal. Number 2 is they don't convert. Now scholars disagree whether this is only for Christians and Jews. So if you're Hindu or if you're a polytheist, many scholars will say you don't get this option to pay jizya, and the jizya is a humiliating tax. It's a tax that's much higher. So like, for example, if the zakat's 2.5% of your wealth, the jizya could be like 20% or something. And so they are basically subject to this big, heavy, humiliating tax. The Quran even uses the word humiliation because they're not Muslim and they don't want to convert to Islam. It's kind of like to push them into converting to Islam. Then, and then the third option, one second, I'm not done. Let me finish my point. The third option is that they fight. So these are the 3 options given by the offensive jihad, like the armies that Muhammad sent out. He gave these 3 options. Now we're getting off topic from what I was trying to. The only reason I brought this up was because you said you kept saying this is not in the Quran. This is not in the Quran when I was quoting this. So I just wanted to show that. I didn't want to get into a topic of jihad. That's a different topic altogether. But it's not right that someone is treated, just because of a different religion, they're treated like a second-class citizen. In Canada, we don't do that. We don't do that shit here. You can be Christian, Jew, Hindu, atheist, whatever the hell you want. You can be straight, gay, you can be black, white, and you are treated the same if you're a Canadian citizen. There's no second-class citizen that's Christian and Jew that has to pay a special tax and humiliation. And some of the Islamic rulers used to put a special badge on non-Muslims to show these are the non-Muslims. I'm not saying that's what the Quran says, but again, we're getting off topic. So can we please get back to the apostasy?
Yeah, just before we go back to that,
otherwise,
you made many points. You threw many things. It's very easy for somebody like your host who doesn't know the history of Islam and for example, the context of these verses to actually think that what you said are real facts and things that happened like that. Because a very simple search will show, for example, that the jizya was much less than what the zakat was. The zakat, which is the Islamic tax, and many groups, for example, were exempted from this among the non-Muslim population. For example, the clergy, the old, the weak, the women, orphans, anything like this, they were exempt from this payment. and not only they were exempt, but the Islamic tax that Muslims had to pay, a portion of it was going to them in charity because they couldn't sustain themselves. And this is all, I'm not inventing, it's all known facts. I'm just, there are many points that you said. I'm sorry, what's your name?
Abdullah. Yeah, can we
Abdullah.
get back to the
Nice to meet you.
apostasy?
Yeah,
Okay. So
I just want to say that this is just a snippet. I just wanted to correct you on this small point because there are many other things that you said which were really, I'm not a scholar in Islam, but I studied a little bit, I read, and many things that you said are, you can have an audience for these things, but if you're trying to convince some real serious Muslims to think about their religions, you really have to check your facts very, very, very seriously.
Okay, so real quick, let me get these super chats, and then we're going to get on the topic. Abdullah wants to get on real quick here. Why so religious? Thank you so much for the super chat. If Allah's words are perfect and can't be replicated, how did Pharoh speak Allah's perfect words without revelation? Allah does not guide evildoers. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate the compliment. And then we have one more super chat down here.
Can I answer that?
Sure.
Yeah, I just want to say that the Quran quotes anybody. It quotes the devil. It quotes enemies. It quotes anybody. It's just quoting. If it's quoting Pharaoh,
is it quoting Pharaoh in his original words, or is it paraphrasing? Because did Pharaoh speak Quranic Arabic?
Well, obviously, it's paraphrasing him. The same way it's quoting any kind of person who was non-Arab.
Okay, so then what do we do with the variants then? How come there's variants of this? Isn't
variants
that like, when you have quoted speech in the Quran, and then you have a variant reading of it where the speech is different, that actually means the quote is not accurate. It means there's different versions of the quote. It's a big problem.
Yeah, it would be a big problem if we didn't have actually a saying from our Prophet that actually confirms that the Quran came in a way. The Quran came in a way, which is it's a very famous hadith which is accepted in all of academia.
7 ahruf.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Let me get this second. Let me get this second one, and you guys can dispute this one if you want to too. Sid Dave, thank you for the super chat. Muhammad was like Kim Jong-un from North Korea. He wanted absolute loyalty, submission, and he was facing competition from rival prophets, tribes. He instituted death for apostates and killed anyone who rejected him. I suspect you would disagree with that.
Well, listen, it's not about me. Everybody can make up his mind. I just wanted to first. I just want to thank you both for really allowing me to tell my opinion.
Yeah.
Because I think it's.
And just so you know, and my audience knows this. You probably don't watch me very often, and that's okay. I don't take what Abdullah Sameer says to the bank either. Like, I actually talk to academics and different people and try to figure out what's going on. At the end of the day, I don't believe it. The same way I don't believe Christianity is true. The same way I don't believe in Judaism. The same way. So it's not for me, it's not even a faith issue. It's more about trying to figure out what happened and what is really going on and looking at these people, these academics to find out. So you don't have to worry about me thinking like everything he says is actually 100% accurate. I'll look into it as time goes by and keep researching. But yeah,
that's great. I just want to say one final point. I really don't want to take the show or something. You guys, do your thing. I just want to say that I just want to tell Abdullah that it's great to put information out there and encourage thinking because when you come on this kind of shows and you start to talk and give your opinion, it incites people like me and others to also look up and fact check and things like this and correct, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I see things. I just want to tell you, it will be better. It will be better if when you present an information, maybe present it as not like it's the 100%. Truth or something, like present it as this is what I think, and this is what I believe, and you can check for yourself, and this and that. You know, I mean, it will be more fair. You know, this is.
Well, I think that Abdullah has done a fair job of saying over and over during this podcast, like, this is what some of the scholars say. He'll like point out, like, some of the scholars are disputing this. They're not really sure. Like, some think this, and if it's polytheist, they get taxed, or not if they don't get the opportunity, whatever. But and it's not just that example. Like, he's done it a lot in the interview. And there might be things he may not have said, hey, this is disputed among scholarship. But anyone who actually is going to be serious about this, look for it yourself. Go look into it yourself. Check, various sources. Obviously, if you go to Muslim apologist sources, you're going to get a certain pro-supportive idea. And if you go to people who are in opposition, and I could name names, but there's YouTube channels that personally I once in a while will watch, but I don't take it to the bank. I would rather go to like an academic who's not like has a vendetta against Muslims. You know what I'm saying? So I would be very careful on where you gain your insight and check it out yourself. I'm with you on that. And thank you for being so kind.
Thank you very much. Thanks very much. I'm just going to leave now. And
thanks, Nader.
It was a pleasure. And if any time, I mean, I just stumbled upon the channel. It came in the algorithm. And I'm very happy that I called. I was a little bit nervous, but
subscribe to the channel.
Yeah, if you want to see some stuff, check out my channel. I got a lot of different things. So thank you, Nader. Am I saying that right? Nader?
Nader.
Yeah, you can pronounce it Nader or Nader.
Nader, thank you so much, and have a good New Year.
Thank you. You too. Bye, Abdullah.
Bye.
All right. Yeah. Did you want to address what you were saying?
I do want to respond because can you share my
screen? Yes,
I
can.
One more time, please.
Absolutely.
So, like I was trying to, I did say earlier on that there is an interpretation of Muslim scholars, and people like Hamza Yusuf say this. They say, and Mufti Abu Layth, that the treason, the apostasy law is connected to treason. So it's not that you're abandoning your religion, it's that you're going against the community. I'm not convinced that the Hadith and like actually portray that, because to me, it seems like it's a simple leaving of the religion. And I'm just because I could go on all day with the Hadith. There's a ton of Hadith, like I said, but I'm not going to go through them. What I'll do instead, and I wanted to ask him about this, but he had to leave, which is, let's just look at what the Islamic websites say. I have two Islamic websites here. One is Islam QA, which is a Salafi website. So this is out of Saudi. And I'm just going to quickly show you what it says here. What's the ruling on apostates?
While you do that real quick, Veiled Rose, thank you. Humanity first, no to religion, rise up for Rojava. Thank you so much for the super chat. And we got one more, if you don't mind me grabbing that as well.
Yep.
David the Goliath said, in 52 out of 57 Muslim majority countries, it is illegal for a non-Muslim man to marry a Muslim woman. A non-Muslim would be arrested for being with a Muslim woman. Muslim supremacy is enforced by law. Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's an issue as well. Like my wife got automatically divorced from me when I left Islam. That's kind of an issue as well. Anyways, so basically the Islam QA says that here, if a Muslim apostatizes and meets the conditions of apostasy, is of sound mind and adult, blah 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 blah. Listen, read this shit.
Apostatize. Okay, if a Muslim apostatizes and meets the conditions of apostasy, i.e., he is of sound mind, an adult, and does that on his own free will, then his blood may be shed with impunity.
Look how they say it.
He is to be executed by the Muslim ruler or by his deputy, such as the Qadi or judge, and he is not to be washed after death in preparation for burial. The funeral prayer is not to be offered for him, and he is not to be buried with the Muslims.
So now this is a scholarly website, not my words. I'm not making this up. Sure, if you don't want to believe it, you're a Muslim, an individual Muslim that has studied Islam, and you conclude otherwise, that's fine. But can you, instead of correcting me, why don't you get these guys to take down this shit? Like, these are the people that you should have a bigger issue with, not Muslims that say, ex-Muslims that say, I'm going to be killed. Tell the Muslims to stop saying these things. I'm going to show one more website, which is the opposite of the Salafi website. It's a Hanafi website. So Hanafis, they follow a madhab. They call themselves traditional Muslims. Why are apostates killed? answered according to Hanafi fiqh. So I wanted to show that this is not just a Salafi thing. This is unanimous. Again, modern scholars may say otherwise. Okay. Basically, it says there's no compulsion in accepting the religion. However, it says once you accept Islam, you don't compel them, but once you accept Islam, then that's it, right?
It's like joining the mob, blood in, blood out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Where does it say this? Oh, here it is. Okay, an apostate would have already entered Islam and his own will, and then he defected. He will not be forced to accept Islam. He'll be given an opportunity of 3 days to repent. After 3 days, the apostate will be sentenced to death. So you get 3 days. These are Islamic websites. So like, wow. I don't know what more do you like? These are authoritative Islamic websites that people trust.
Yeah.
So
this isn't you coming up with this. This is what I think you were trying to say is like, look, we can come up with various interpretations and many people with many things. And let me just take the super chat if you don't mind.
Yep.
This is in the vein of what I'd like to say on what you just said here for our good friend Nader. World needs leaders like Nader who should abolish death for apostasy in many countries. These countries strongly follow Sharia. Either one is correct. So I'm with this super chat. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. I really appreciate all the help I can get here. But I have to say that if that's the case, we're siding with this idea that he's like trying to eliminate it and reform these things. I'm with you, but it's like if you're finding it on Muslim websites,
I don't think he's trying to reform. I don't think he's trying to reform it. I think he's trying to say that. I guess you could call it reform. Again, if someone's saying, here's the problem. Is it really reform to say, well, if you don't pay your taxes, the government would jail you and kill you too? Is it really reform to say, well, we don't have the conditions for an Islamic state, therefore we wouldn't implement it? Like, I would ask that same person, I don't know, maybe he is actually against it.
Yeah.
Can you say, like, Muslims, repeat after me. Can you say it is wrong to kill someone for leaving the religion? Yes or no? Is it wrong? Is it wrong? That's all I want you to say is it's wrong to kill someone for leaving the religion. Most people cannot say that because of the religious teaching. So they'll say something else. They'll say we don't have the proper situation, or they'll say this is for treason, or they'll say, but like nobody wants to condemn what Muhammad did. Like, did other rulers do the same thing, that if you defected, they would kill you? And we have examples of people that
there might have been, actually. There might have been, even in the Christian world. I mean, obviously it's political. This might have happened, and I don't know because I'm not a historian. It's something to explore. But, it's not like this unique guy came up out of nowhere and just started slaughtering people. I mean, the whole world was bloodbath. You had Rome, you had Persia. They've been warring for over 1,000 years. And this is where I'd say the problem comes up. When I've mentioned warlord, or I've used this phrase to say Muhammad was a fighter. Joshua was a fighter in the Bible. I mean, like, I can give you a list of what I would call warlords, people who are battling, leaders of their people who are battling with sword, okay? Or they're pushing people to do that. When you look at this, they'll go, no, there was all defense. That's a huge red flag to me, because when I listened to Robert Hoyland's book, In God's Path, these are historians who's like going into all the documents showing, no, like they conquested to Berber. They took over, the Romans, they went over and took over Persia. Like, that's not self-defense. That's like me kicking in your door, in Canada. I live in North Carolina, and then saying, this is actually in defense, by the way, because if I don't do it to you, you're going to probably eventually do it to me. So I guess I'll go ahead and do it now, and then I'll call it defense. No. It's so I'm not blaming. But if you're trying to live by his actions today in the world we live in, then yes, I think condemning those actions for today is a thing we should do, I'm not going to blame history. I'm not going to blame history. I'm going to blame people who are trying to lift 7th century Medina and put it into 21st century living and say, this is how we need to live. This guy knew what was true for all time, right here for all time. That's the problem.
I agree with you. I think that's the bigger problem is when you if it's truly the case that this is for treason, it's not clear enough. That's the problem with the religion. If Allah actually sent this religion and he left it in such a form that could be easily misunderstood, he didn't do a good job. Because all these Muslims apparently think that it applies even today, that you should kill apostates. The minority, I would say, are the ones saying that, yeah, this is for treason, and so therefore we don't need it anymore. But like people like ISIS and others would do this today, to this day, because they think it still applies, because it's not clear that it's only for treason. Like
Right.
the words are not there, right? You know what I'm saying?
And people are they're interpreting it in many ways. We have active, extremist cults that are interpreting these things obviously to the extreme. But Ronnie S, and this, I'm gonna get your personal thought on this. Muhammad was, I think he's trying to say, was a fascist political leader whose actions inadvertently created a fascist political religious ideology used by brutal dictators to oppress people. What are your thoughts about that?
I kind of wish Mr. Anti-Fascist Jordan Peterson would have brought this up because he's strongly against fascism, but Islam, some interpretations of it, especially the Islamist ideology of political Islam, is very, very fascist. It's like no freedom of religion. I mean, just look at Saudi Arabia. Until recently, actually, most of the Middle East, you're not able to build any churches. You're not allowed to openly celebrate Christmas. You have to hide it. I remember my Ismaili friend telling me they used to have secret meetings for prayer underground, because you can't openly be Ismaili. You can't have religious ceremonies openly in Saudi. He was living in Saudi and he was Ismaili, which is the Shia sect. So you don't have any of those freedoms. In many Muslim countries, women are not allowed to. They have to wear hijab. It's a religious obligation, plus it's a legal obligation, so you can be charged under modesty laws like Iran and maybe even Saudi. So there's many things like that, right? It's of course there's different ways to interpret it. Like a lot of people don't interpret Islam politically, and that's much better, because it's a private expression of your devotion to God. That's fine, you can do that. But when you put it on someone else, now I have a problem, right?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I understand that, we're coming from a modern perspective where we've lived in a privileged area where people have these rights and freedoms. And so it's different, I guess, when you're someone like them who's used to this and this is your worldview. It's totally okay. I know, because as a Christian, I try to get everybody to think like me. I wanted everybody to convert. Rashid's still down in the chat, and I'd like to take his call if that's fine, since he said he was Muslim. So I want to hear his thoughts. All right. Welcome back on, Rashid.
Hi, thank you very much for having me.
Did you have a question for Abdullah?
Yes, I mean, when I came on the first time, I first started out by giving some.
I didn't know that you were. I didn't know you were a Muslim, man.
Yeah, I figured that. I figured later on that, okay, now that I have started like this, they're probably going to assume that I'm not a Muslim. But
yeah,
but
you were very nice. It was a shocker.
I am a Muslim. It's just that I appreciate good research when I see it, even if it's coming from an non-Muslim or an ex-Muslim or someone who is speaking against Islam. And I found their series, Abdullah Gondol and also Abdullah Sameer's, series on basically the Prophet having or not being a prophet with his, revelation and all that. I found the research very, very fascinating, and the depth of it was incredible. So I appreciate that, because as Nader also said that when these things are brought into the light, it causes us to go and reflect and start doing our own research and gaining even more knowledge. And I appreciate that very much. So to begin, I would like to say what Abdullah said just before, that I would like a Muslim to say that it is wrong to kill someone because of leaving a religion. Yes, Abdullah, I am Muslim, and I am saying that it is absolutely wrong to kill someone just because they have left a religion. So
excellent, beautiful.
Do you agree? Can I ask Rashid, just to get because you brought up an example, Abdullah, you said that there's this, at least on that website, there's a 3-day rule. Would you agree that if they decide they permanently never want to come back, that's still wrong to kill the apostate?
It doesn't matter, as long as it is for religious reasons that someone leaves a religion. In fact, I would say that executing someone just because they've left a religion is an indicator of the falsehood of religion. For me personally, if a religion, for example, calls for the execution of another person just because they've left it, that tells me that that religion is false, and that person who's propagating that idea is also a false teacher or prophet or proclaimer or whatever.
Yeah, I would say I have a Muslim friend just like you, and I don't have very many Muslim friends anymore. But this guy, he said the same thing to me. He said, "How does it make sense that people leave Christianity all the time and become Muslim, and that's fine, but when they leave Islam, we're supposed to kill them? Like that doesn't make any sense." Like, so I appreciate that you share that view, and that you have those good values. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I mean, it's just for me personally, as in, I understand your point of view on the idea that the Prophet, the Muhammad did that or called for it, or that kind of understanding. And yes, and that also to go on what Nader also brought up before, I do see, for example, that the hadiths do they do give that impression. So it is true. I would say that you are correct that when you look at the hadiths, they certainly do give that impression that it is okay to kill someone based on their belief. Because as you also read from the hadith itself, it says certain people, certain groups apostatized. Irtaddu. They left. They apostatized. That's the word that is used. Now, because the narrator of the hadith considered it to be lawful to execute someone, so he puts it like that they apostatized. And of course, so we understand it that they are apostatized. Well, that means to leave the religion. It's just, that's what it means. So that is what the hadith also says. And in addition to also that, the other hadith actually says, for example, وَكَفَرَ مَنْ كَفَرَ مِنَ الْعَرَبِ, that basically the people from the Arabs did kufr. That's the word they use. So it's you do have that. They do have that, that perception. So you do understand that
I wish you were there when Nader was on.
So
you guys could have talked to each other.
They do. I mean, the hadiths do give that impression. That's the you have the hadith of someone, for example, after the prophet. Two people are sitting down and then they're having a conversation, and one says to the other that, oh, who is that man? And he says, oh, this one is so and so. He used to be a Muslim, now he's a Jew. So the other one said, okay, I won't sit with him until you execute him, because the prophet says that man badala dinahu faqtuluhu. So it's as clear as that, and if you take that and you assume it to be authentic or correct, the impression is there. It's not about what did he say that it is? It was about I don't know, treason, right? That's what he said. Nader. This is clearly not treason. This man was sitting there among other Muslims. So it is not treason. If it was treason, what the hell would he be doing sitting there? And another Muslim comes over and looks at him and says, hey, that's not treason.
Wow.
It's like if a Nazi person came to the US and is sitting around other people with it doesn't make sense. If it was treason, he would not be sitting around other Muslims, and other Muslims would not be accommodating him.
You're doing a better job than me. I gotta thank you. Like you're actually doing a better job than me right now.
I mean, that's the thing, is that it doesn't make sense if you look at from the hadith perspective. I do give you that. It's clear from the hadith perspective. It's also clear from the scholarly understanding. There are many scholars that say that it's okay to execute people, because they leave the faith, and you give them the 3 days, and which is absolutely ridiculous. You give them 3 days. If they don't come back to religion, you're supposed to execute them. It's, for me, that indicates for me truly that this path is absolutely false. Now, for me, where I do take this kind of understanding, I do see it in the Quran itself. Now, going back to why I am a Muslim a little bit, I do get the same understanding from the Quran that, for example, when the Quran says, when it gives that famous verse, La ikraha fi din, which you are very familiar with, that it says, قَدْ تَبَيَّنَ الرُّشْدُ مِنَ الْغَيِّ. it specifically says Arushd, clear guidance, or as it's popularly understood, but it more refers to the correct way of doing things, it's clear, or it has been clear from the false way. So it's telling you that executing someone or
I got an echo.
Someone is nonsensical, because if it is clear, then there's no point in forcing someone. That's the verse. The verse is telling you that you don't. There's no need to force someone, because what is correct should be apparent, should be clear from what is false, or what is hard to do.
Yeah, it even says we hurl truth at falsehood, and it demolishes falsehood. It's quite poetic, actually, when it says it that way. I was like,
exactly. So the verse itself is telling you that, it's making you to think that it's not. It's clearly telling you that there's no point in actually forcing someone, because if your religion is true, it should be able to stand on its own feet. You don't have to force someone. That's what the verse is saying. And unfortunately, people have taken.
Rashid,
sorry, Derek.
No,
yes.
let me bump in and get this super chat, because this really big super chat, and I really appreciate people who help support the channel. So we'll keep you up here for a second. I want to have Abdullah respond for a minute too. I have a question too. But Ronnie S, thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate that. It's big super chat. Really appreciate your help. There were also other prophet claimants in the 7th century Arabia who were more popular than Muhammad. Musalima, I hope I'm saying that right. Which was one such challenger to Muhammad. Isn't it ironic that Christianity, Islam, Mormons originated in areas where many people were claiming to be prophets, messiahs?
Is that a question for me?
I think that's a question for Abdullah, just to kind of throw it out there. Like, I see a lot of common things personally as I've been studying, especially between Joseph Smith and Muhammad, what we can trust of maybe what might be historical about Muhammad. But there's a lot in common between these men, and I do believe that they believed in what they did. That I don't doubt that. There are people who think people are con man and this and that, and there might be some lying, of course, in Joseph Smith, for example. There might be some lying that is in the name of God that might be coming from the prophet. I'm going to say it like this: you're a Muslim on the channel. But I have some friends. I have a scholar friend named John Hamer, who's a Mormon. Okay, he's a Mormon, and he admits that Joseph Smith was very human, made big mistakes, said things at times that he looks at, or actions like the polygamous stuff. Right, for him, there's things he's like, Joseph Smith made a lot of mistakes, but he still believes that he's the prophet. Now, I wouldn't jump to that conclusion, but he does, and he admits these things. Do you see those human flaws, or are you like, no, we can't do that? The prophet is perfect. You know what I mean? Like he didn't make those mistakes.
Yeah, that's actually a very good question. I'm actually one of those few Muslims who don't have that idea that the Prophet Muhammad is a perfect human being.
Right.
So, it might, for some Muslims out there who are watching, but it's not a possibility. It's not possible to be perfect. Like the Prophet Muhammad cannot be perfect for all times. That's just not possible. It's impossible for him to be perfect for all times.
Ronnie S is back again. Thank you again, Ronnie. And he just said Muslims came up with the idea of Muhammad being the last and final prophet to prevent political uprisings, as many people were claiming to be prophets and raising their own private armies to challenge Muslims. So this opens up a can of worms. This is something that I really want to explore with the historical, because, all right, when I say, for example, when I made the statement that Muhammad may have been a warlord, right? You don't take me to the bank as if like I mean it in some like he's bad and he has bad intentions. No, he believes what he's doing is right. But there may be some anachronistic stuff that has been applied to him. I wonder if later historians in Islam and rising of the empire may have potentially put certain implications on these things to keep their empire together. I don't know. This is a historical question to ask some of the historians to find out, like, did they say he was the last prophet? Was he saying he was the last prophet in his own lifetime? Did he actually believe the end was near in his own lifetime? Did he think that the end was going to happen just like the New Testament has the indication? Paul believed the end was nigh. even from the mouth of Jesus in the Gospels. You see where I'm going with this? So
I think
Yes.
he did. Yeah.
Yes, anachronistically, I think that is a possibility, that people were back projecting, I think, certain things onto the prophet, to make it, seem, a different, to give a different picture. However, the question about that one on the last day, or did the prophet think that the last day is going to come in his lifetime?
Mhm.
I mean, if you look at the Quran, which I would say that is the closest or the best source to the prophet himself, it's the best source as
Mhm.
far as historically speaking. If we look at the Quran, and we have to go with the assumption that he produced it somehow, and we look through the Quran, there is absolutely no indication whatsoever that the Prophet Muhammad had any idea of when the hour is going to happen. In the Quran, if you look at the Quran, there is nowhere where the Prophet is asked in several verses. It tells you this. Yes, alunaka anisa. They ask you, when is the hour going to happen? Ayana murusaha. When is it going to happen? He had plenty of opportunity in so many verses of the Quran which talk about when the hour is going to come, to mention that it's going to happen in 100 years, or it's going to come in this specific time. But nowhere in those verses does he mention that. Yet we have a hadith which also Abdullah knows about. He has also mentioned it, which the Prophet talks about, but gives a specific response. This child will not have grown old until the hour has come. I have heard some people who try to go behind this and they say, "Well, you don't know. The hour maybe means until I die." No. We all know what as-sa'a means. Okay,
Yeah.
stop.
But
Stop it.
are you sorry for interrupting? Are you a Quranist then? You only believe in the
No,
Quran?
no.
Okay.
No. I mean, I believe that the Quran is an inspiration from God. Yes,
Okay.
but I do take the hadiths more, let's say, not dogmatically.
Okay.
If I could say that, I
Yep.
don't take them dogmatically. I don't think that they are a good source in terms of what was at the time of the prophet. I believe that they are happening anachronistically. Much of the things that are in the hadiths are actually back projected onto the prophet as if he said them. Much of them, but not all of them. There are some that I believe that the prophet said those things, and that he believed that, or that he performed that way. I do believe that. Yes.
Interesting. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, thank you for your perspective, and it's actually great hearing from you, and I think I can learn a lot from you. Actually, you said some really good points, improve some of my arguments.
I want. I mean, when I first started coming in, I wanted to talk about the hating verse, because you've spoken about it quite often,
Yeah.
and I've
Yes.
never. I wanted to talk about that and my perspective on that, to try to shed light on that. But
Okay,
if there is
it's
no time,
Derek's
I
choice.
can.
It's Derek's choice.
Yeah,
I can.
let's do it. Let's do it again sometime. Thank you for calling in, Rashid.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rashid.
Awesome. That was cool. That was really cool. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I love his perspective. I mean, I wish all Muslims believe what he believed, because it's great, right? I mean, if you can actually, most of the issues with Islam are in the Hadith, I think, and if you can take those with a grain of salt as he does, then you can get rid of a lot of the bad stuff. I don't know what he was going to say about the Quran and Quran 434 about the beating verse, so we'll discuss that another time. Obviously, in general, I think we don't need religion in general. I think we can be
I'm
fine
with
without
you.
it. I don't know what the point of even holding on to it then, but like someone like that, the interesting thing is the difference between someone like that and the Perfect Dawah is they're both coming at it like from they have kind of similar conclusions, but they're coming at it so differently. Like, he's speaking from a perspective that I can actually respect. Like, I can understand, not just respect. I can understand where he's coming from, and I get how he got there. Whereas some other Quranists, I just don't resonate, and I don't really understand how they got to where they got to, and it just feels like cherry picking to me, and I don't want to talk to that, because there's nothing to say to people that do that. Whereas
Yeah.
this guy is like, okay, well, maybe, you know, he's speaking from knowledge, and he actually he had a point that I never even thought of, that if this was about treason, then, well, what about the hadith where actually one of the hadith on my blog where the guy said, I'm not going to sit down till this Jew is killed, because the prophet said, if anyone leaves the religion, then execute him. So that it doesn't make sense. That's treason. That's a great point. I never even thought of that. So
Wow.
yeah, I hope to talk to him again, Rashid. If you can contact me, email me, abdullah.adam@gmail.com. Just email me. I'd love to talk to you some more sometime. Hear your thoughts. I think you're a very interesting person, and would love to talk to you.
Feel free to put it in the chat too if you want to make sure that Rashid gets that.
Okay,
I got a
sounds
super
good.
chat from Sid. Thank you, Sid, for that super chat. I appreciate the love. Muhammad may have been some form of a Christian before Islam. His marriage with Khadija was solemnized by a Christian priest, Waraka. Muhammad also thought that Christians believed that Jesus was Allah's biological son, Mary as Allah's consort. This opens up a whole, bro. Interesting super chat, because I'm actually I'm exploring the historical question, right? Like, that's what I'm into. Like, it's not for religious reasons, it's for historical, but there seems to me to be more of a Christian influence than we would expect. And I go, is it Jewish or is it Christian? Well, there were versions of Christianity that were very Jewish Christian versions out there outside of the empire, especially by the 7th century. You're talking about, you know, there's the Orthodox Church. They would have expelled a lot of these types of groups, and they would have been out there on the fringes as a diaspora of Christian movement. And this may have been something there. There are a lot of traditions, though, I must admit, where like a monk sees Muhammad like under a tree, and he's like, oh, it's a Christian monk. And he's like, that will be a prophet. And then there's one that it's a pagan witch doctor, if you will, or something like that sees and says he will be somebody great. And then the one where there's rabbis, and the rabbis see him, and then which one's true? I mean, they're all three telling something.
The Christian one is a known fabrication. The one where, the monk, you know, the monk that one. I don't know if Sean Anthony mentioned that in his chat with you. Okay.
He mentioned all of them, though. Like there's conflicting traditional stories.
Okay.
It's cool, though, watching legends. If you know what it is, it's cool. If you think this is literally historically true, and that's when it starts to become like fundamentalism. Anyway, we got one more caller, Myron, and if you're cool with that, did you have something you wanted to say?
No, nothing else to say. I have no idea if Muhammad was a Christian, but obviously there was a Christian influence there, and a very strange Christian, sect. Obviously, it wasn't mainstream Christianity.
Yes, that's what Sid is saying here. And may I mention this just briefly? There's an interview. I maybe I'll have David Litwell come back, but Christianity was not one thing, and there was versions of it out there where Jesus, the Father, and the Mother, there was Mary. This Trinity was with Mary. And you see this in the Quran. This version of Christianity existed. It wasn't Father, Son, Holy Spirit Trinity. It was Mother, Father, and Son. And this is something that I'm going to have David Litwell come on, experts on these, what he calls found Christianities. See, Dr. Bart Ehrman wrote a book called Lost Christianities. And it's all these lost versions that you find out there with names, Sethianites and this group and all these different versions. But David Litwell has a book coming out in a month or two, and it's going to be called Found Christianities, versions of Christianity type of movements that have this, and a Trinitarian version with the Mother Mary is one of them. So maybe they were down in Saudi Arabia, at least to the 6th, 7th century. I don't know. It's really interesting. Anything else before we bring on one more? So we'll just do one more caller, and thank you for your time, Abdullah. I really appreciate it, man. You didn't have to.
This is great. This is actually fun. I'm really loving this.
I really do. I appreciate everybody's calls. I mean, everybody, and they make this like something I want to do more, to have interfaith dialogue and to help maybe change, to a better direction for everybody. So welcome, Myron, to Myth Vision. I appreciate you jumping in.
Hello, guys. Good evening, good night, good morning. I don't know what time is there at the moment.
Are you Muslim?
10 a.m.
Are you Muslim, my friend?
I am a quite cultural Muslim, let's say, because of my family, my background, where I am, who everybody, but quite skeptic in many ways.
Okay. Did you have a question for Abdullah?
Yeah, I've been following Abdullah for a while, over a year now, and then now through him, I found Hassan Ridwan, and I'm quite enjoying both videos and what they present. It's quite actually, I feel sort of relieved since I found them. It is kind of interpreting how I feel, because scholarship in Islam, or at least in my country, I'm from Turkey, it is quiet. It's like a muddy lake. You don't see anything. You cannot really take one scholar's opinion. And I have actually two questions for Abdullah, if you don't mind. If you think enough after the first one, I would understand also. I don't have to ask the second one, but it is a good opportunity for me. So if you don't mind, that's something I want to go ahead with my first question. And I think especially for Sunni world, I want to ask Abdullah, there is no single authority. Is that causing big problem? Because in Turkey, it's already causing big problem. The other day, I was watching a famous Muslim scholar, the founder of 19.org. Maybe you heard him, you've seen him. He welcomed about 20 Turkish scholars, which is very famous, really, who is leading in Turkey. And they were discussing reforming Islam. And the topic that started from Nisa 34, the wife-beating verse. And I watched the program 2 hours, 20 minutes. 9 of them left the conversation. 11 of them didn't agree. They all start fighting. They all start cursing each other. They start takfiring each other. Wow. And 2 hours, 20 minutes, reforming Islam, it didn't go further than Nisa 34. It is really hard. Some things we enjoy our culture. We like our family. We don't want to get cross with them. There are some things we don't get along well with them, but you need some answers, of course. Then you search for some answers, and then you go to these people, you watch these people, you never get an answer. There is 3 pages. You read 4 pages about one ayah, one hadith, and you read that one for 1 hour. Your brain hurts. After a while, you forget what was your question. And that's something is really bugging. And since I've been following Abdullah, a lot of their approach, especially Hassan Ridwan, is amazing. I get some relieving answers. It has to back up my belief, what I want to believe. It is a truth. I feel in peace. And I want Abdullah's also background is Ismaili, but he is literally hardcore Sunni. So did he also have these dilemmas? Getting lost in the seculars when you were looking for an answer, and actually you searching for hours and hours and hours. When you try to get a coffee and you think that what was your answer, you forget what you were looking for. What was your question?
Yeah. So I totally resonate. I mean, I totally understand where you're coming from. You know, you love your culture, you love your community, and you still want to be a part of that. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's, not all of us have to be like public ex-Muslims. Some of us, some people that are Muslim, and that's my actual goal for the world. I want to live in a world where anyone can be Muslim and nobody really cares whether they believe in God or they believe in hereafter. They don't believe, whether they pray 5 times a day or they don't pray. That's nobody's business except my own. My Muslim family is kind of like that. My dad was agnostic in a way. My mom is sort of agnostic too. She's Muslim. You ask her, she's Muslim. She believes in God, but she's not like strict on these things. She's not really, she doesn't care about, like, when I was young, I tried to convince her to get a halal mortgage. She's like, boy, get out of here. Right? I'm just going to get a regular mortgage, right? I don't care about that stuff. So I'm glad she didn't listen to me. But definitely some of the things in Islam, they're kind of hard to, they make you uncomfortable. For example, like, the wife beating verse. So what do we do with those things? I would say, like, the things that you don't feel comfortable with, just ignore them. Just keep away from those and keep the good parts of the religion. Keep the part that makes you feel good. Like Sheik Yabooty came on earlier asking, do you wash yourself? Well, yeah, we can wash yourself. It doesn't matter. Like, there's nothing wrong with that, right? If there's certain things that you appreciate in Islam, for example, respecting the parents or whatever, and that jives with you and your culture, then by all means, me personally, I didn't go through this. I have a very different story. I converted, right, from Ismaili to Sunni, and I just accepted everything in Sunnism. I didn't question the morality issue at all. What took me out of Islam was the scientific part, when I started to see the Quran as sort of man-made book. And then later I reconsidered my conclusions about Muhammad's actions, whether they were actually moral or immoral. And that's when I started to realize a lot of the things he did, I just wasn't comfortable with them anymore, and I never questioned them. Just like when Rashid came on and he mentioned that point, I never even thought of it like that. Well, how could this be a treason issue when there's actually, the guy was actually sitting there with the companions? So obviously that's not treason. He wouldn't be sitting there, you know, whatever, smoking hookah with them, whatever they were doing. I don't know what they were doing, but sitting together, whatever. So does that get to what you're asking? Like, so my journey is different, your journey is different, but did I
Scholars
answer?
make it too difficult to understand, Abdullah. They don't give an answer.
No.
It's just
It's a,
question. What is the question? What's your answer, good man? I'm listening over 2 hours. What's your conclusion?
The thing about the you've mentioned reforming Islam. Sorry, I forgot about that. And you asked a very good question. And by the way, Derek, I asked this to Khalil as well, and Khalil actually agreed with me that this is a problem. See, in Ismailism, there's one person, right? So he's in charge.
Yeah.
He decides. Done. With Sunnism, this is the question I asked him. I said, Khalil, if I'm Sunni and I'm told you have to ask a scholar that you trust, okay, how do I figure that part out? Like, which is a good scholar, which is a bad scholar? There's no objective way to figure out who to trust. You can go for the guy that went to Medina, and that's what some people will say. Okay, I trust the guys that studied Islam in Medina. That's a Salafi way, because I used to be Salafi. But then there was a guy who went to Medina who was Sufi, and he was saying all sorts of stuff in the khutbah that was like making me really uncomfortable. He's like, yeah, I take my Quran and I wrap it in leather and I kiss it every day. And I was like, I was taught not to do that. That's like worshiping the Quran. We don't do that. He's like, yeah, put it on the highest shelf. I was told, no, don't put it on the highest shelf. You read it every day. Don't like, like venerate it like that. So Sufi, but this guy also studied Medina, and somehow he ended up Sufi. I don't know. So I'm like, okay, well, I can't go based on his background. Well, what about his charisma? Well, some people are charismatic, but they're actually misguided, right? Like I used to love Hamza Yusuf, but then I found out he's misguided because he's Sufi and he's not on the right school of thought. So there's no real good answer to this question as to who to trust, how to deal with these issues. I think, go with your heart. Do what you think if honestly it makes sense to you that beating is beating lightly, and you're comfortable with the fact that, well, I don't have to, like, it's not actually, it's figurative or whatever. To me, that doesn't resonate with me, that beating is beating lightly or it's metaphorical beating or something like that. But if you're comfortable with that, then maybe that's fine for you, because if you get rid of all these things, then what's the issue with you being a Muslim? There's no issue, right?
Yeah, I have no problem of if something doesn't fit in my mind, in my heart, again, my morality, my humanity, I refuse it. I don't have to do it. I don't have to even think about it. I wouldn't even beat with a toothbrush or lightly or touch my finger. I wouldn't do that to my wife. I love her for years. She gave me beautiful kids, and we are happy. She's respectful to my family, my parents. I don't see anything can make me beat her. I don't see, not in Muhammad, not Allah, nothing can make me beat her. That's another.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I don't hurt my, but then again, I don't have like a law that tells me to do those types of things. So, there's people who act like that. That's something. So,
did I answer your question though? I don't know if I got to what you wanted to know. Like, did I?
Exactly, Abdullah. You also said there is no clear answer. You would never get an answer. Exactly. Again, it ends up with your own judgment, your own personal, in your own heart. What your conclusion is, you can rely on her. That's what I assumed. What you said, what you meant. And if you have time, I have another question. That is about Aisha, if you have time. If not, I'm so pleased already with what I got.
Yeah, it'll be the final question if that's okay with you, Abdullah.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine with me. Yeah, and you just especially, Derek, you talk about the origin of Islam, how it might start. It can be even a Christianity. Muhammad maybe not even a real person. Even a lot of Islam critics in Turkey, the atheist community, they say a lot. The guy such never exist. What makes me really rely on that truth, the guy such exist, is Aisha actually. The Hadith, his life, what she went through. How she started as a kid playing with her toys, and suddenly they take her, cleaned her, and she was afraid, she was scared. And while she was married with Muhammad, she was looking at other people playing, like especially last time I saw Abdullah give another. She's watching the Ethiopian kids or Ethiopian people are playing. She's in if Kadits. She's 13, 14. She's a teenage girl. She fell for a young guy. She's not for older guy. This all sounds a very possible scenario, a very possible person that she get angry with Muhammad as a teenager. We know how teenage rebellious. He says that God doesn't hesitate to justify your pleasure or your love or whatever.
If I may, I want to say, just so that you know, I think all three of us are on the same page. I know there are skeptics out there, and maybe they have in their own head a justified reason for thinking that maybe Muhammad didn't exist at all. I've interviewed some myself, like Dr. Robert M. Price, but I personally do think that there was a guy. I do. And I just think that there were legends built up around him. Just like I would say, I personally believe there was a Jesus. I mean, there are a lot of skeptics I interview on that, though, that don't believe he existed or whatever. But I do. Me and I believe Abdullah, I don't want to put words in your mouth, agree with a historical Muhammad. Yeah.
Yeah. No, my heart is most of the time breaks for when I think about Aisha. The whole thing, when I put the hadiths and all the life story together, it becomes a very, very sad story. I feel really sad. What Abdullah think? What do you think about Aisha? What she went through?
Yeah, you know, I've made a video. I talked about this before, and Muslims actually said to me, you know, how dare you look at her as a victim? You know, she could have left, which I think is the most stupidest thing anyone can say. Like, how would she leave? Like, are you crazy? Like, a young lady in that culture, what's she gonna do? Walk across the desert to she's gonna go across the sea to Abyssinians or something? Like, she had no choice. She did the best she could according to her circumstances. She was a child. I don't know if she was 9 or, you know, I don't know if she was 6 when she got married or not, but she was a child for sure. She was a young child. She was playing with dolls, doing all these things. She was married to Muhammad. Of course, she's obviously constantly worried that Muhammad would get yet another wife. In some ways, she was better off because she was Muhammad's favorite wife, right? According to the Sunni Hadith, she was his favorite wife. He used to spend more time with her. He took away a night of Saudas to spend an extra night with her. According to Sunnis, again, he died on her lap. So she got a lot of benefits out of it too. I mean, it wasn't an ideal situation. I don't think anyone would choose to be in that situation. She was accused of adultery, and even Muhammad didn't believe her. She came back, you know, on the back of this young companion. I forgot who it was now, and everybody's tongues were wagging, and they were saying, oh, she must have cheated on Muhammad because Muhammad's this old guy. She's this young girl. Well, she probably wanted a young guy. And the saddest thing of all to me is that the worst part of this entire thing to me is that she was, you know, had to be celibate the rest of her life because Muhammad, apparently, as the story goes, someone else was interested in Muhammad in marrying Aisha after Muhammad died, and he heard about this. So he made this rule that nobody can marry any of my wives because they're going to be married to me in Jannah. So she had to live the rest of her life as a celibate woman with never get married again, never have a relationship, never be loved, other than as this like scholar lady in the community. So, of course, I don't think it was ideal, but what could she do? And it was a less than ideal situation for everybody, I think, in that time and place, right? So in some ways, she had some benefits. She became very political. There's a beautiful book, absolutely outstanding book called After the Prophet by Leslie Hazelton.
Yeah.
Did you read it yet?
Oh my, the whole thing, dude.
It's
such
a good book.
That really sucked me into, I mean, you know, I asked some of the experts we talked to, you know, Sean Anthony, Marijn van Putten, you know, these others, and get their thoughts. And they said, it's a good place to start because they said some of the things she mentions, Leslie Hazelton will like paint the whole narrative for you. And a lot of that might be fiction or legend added, but it was a story that made me feel like there needs to be a Netflix series. I'm not kidding. I'm dead serious. There needs to be a Netflix series. The problem is people are so sensitive in this area that it could be like the Vikings. It could be like some amazing show to show you a love story and difficulties in Arabia and the rise of these things. But it's also got a lot of other stuff that is gory and internal fighting. The what is it? The Red Camel battle with Aisha fighting against Ali, and like the first Civil War. I mean, like, this is unbelievable, the stuff that takes place. It was just amazing. And I started falling in love with the history. That doesn't mean I'm a believer, but it's also like I'm not an antagonist as much as I want people to wake up and realize that don't do bad, do nice things, love each other, and try to break out of superstition. I really enjoy the history. I really do. I got a couple super chats though. If we can jump on those real quick to give.
So let's just end off this call then. So Min, thanks for your call. That was lovely to talk to you, and I hope that you find peace with way to resolve these conflicts in your mind. And conflicts are a good thing. Doubt is a good thing. It means that something is not jiving. Your mind is trying to tell you that these things are not clicking in, and you need to do something. So I hope that you find the peace that you're looking for, my friend.
Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you so much.
Bye.
Bye. Awesome. Man, this has been a wonderful show. Did you expect this?
Yeah. No. I was like, this was great. Like, I wish I could get people calling with this quality viewers. I mean, like, this was amazing. I'm very happy.
Me too, man. Ronnie S says, and thank you. Reason I think Muhammad may have been some kind of Christian because he claimed it was Gabriel who visited him. Gabriel visited Mary in the Christian story and does not appear anywhere else in Judaism. Actually,
Moses?
No,
Moses
in
never
Daniel, in the book of Daniel for sure. So in the book of Daniel, Daniel chapter 8, make sure Daniel chapter 8, verse 15 through 17. I was trying to understand what the vision meant when suddenly someone was standing in front of me. I heard a voice call out from over the Ulai River. Gabriel explained to them the meaning of what he saw. Gabriel came and stood by me, and I was so terrified I fell to the ground. He said to me, "Mortal man, understand the meaning. The vision has to do with the end of the world." So it is there. It is in the Hebrew Bible, but the Christians use the Hebrew Bible, and the Muslims use the Hebrew Bible and the Christian literature to some degree, even though it's kind of been recontextualized. Anyway, thank you so much, though, for that super chat. It still doesn't mean that he wasn't a Christian potentially originally. It doesn't rule out what you're saying, but I did want to correct and say this is found in Judaism. And I wonder if it's found in like Enochian literature, in Maccabees. I got to look in this other literature that we don't find in the Hebrew Bible. Maybe there's some stuff there. A couple more super chats. Ronnie S said, the ban on Muhammad's wives not being married to anyone else was also done because anyone marrying Muhammad's wives could have claimed to be a prophet or a successor. That was an interesting part of her book. Remember when the rest of their lives, they cannot remarry. And Aisha had to give away the rest of her life in celibacy.
Yep. Yeah. Regardless of this, still the Shias claim that he had successors, which is his down the line of Fatima, right? His daughters. So, but yeah, I think that was the idea, probably.
Yeah, because imagine being with the queen, if you will, or a queen of the movement. Now you got a power struggle. They already had that. That was already a problem. So there was a lot going on right out the gate. If you haven't read After the Prophet, you turned me on to it. Once I started it, it was over. I couldn't stop the book. That was that good of a book.
It's amazing, yeah.
I'm trying to get her on to interview her about the book.
Nice.
So thank you, Ronnie, for all of the super chats and the support and the questions and things like that, helping support the show. And Melody Joy, good to see you here, sweetheart. Thank you for the sticker. It's always a pleasure to see you. If we may, as we're exiting here, I want everyone to consider checking out my Patreon. You can go there, tons and tons of content. You scroll to the bottom here, hit load more. There are hundreds that have never made it to public. Please go support Abdullah Sameer. Go subscribe to his channel and, hit that little bell, get notified. He covers a lot of different content. So you may not even agree with him, but maybe you can see his heart. I'm speaking to the Muslims here. Maybe you can see his heart. Some hate you, some despise you, but I mean, I could see that you mean well. And if they think you're wrong at the end of the day, at the least see a human here who's just trying to figure out with his brain what he can. That's the request I have. Go subscribe to him. That's down in the chat as well, in the description. I mean, let me put that in the chat so anyone who's right now in the chat can go and subscribe.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dick.
Yeah.
You was going to say?
No, I was just going to say I'm trying to paint a story, imagining coming from a belief that I know is sensitive and sacred to people.
Yes.
Who hear you talk about where you are about it, but to understand that, you know, you try to empathize with them and they try to empathize with you. That's my goal. So
yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. It's been lovely. It's been a pleasure, and for sharing the channel, of course. And I do appreciate like doing this, what you're doing. I know it's difficult to kind of balance out all of the different people that's coming on there, and also to the main, you know, to try to maintain impartiality, because obviously with friends, but at the same time you do want to let people that come and talk to be, you want to be fair to them, right?
Yeah.
Because even though you're not a believer, you're not Muslim, you're obviously atheist like I am, but I do appreciate that you are, you know, you do that, you give people the chance, and you're respectful to everyone that calls in. Sometimes some of the people that call in, I'm like, oh my God, what is this guy saying? But like, you're respectful to them, and you give them the chance and opportunity to give the position, give the points, and get some excellent callers that way, which is amazing. I hope more people will be brave. The great algorithm will show this channel to more people, and we'll come and do this again. This is awesome. This is so much fun. Sheik Yabooty, I'm gonna consider hitting you up for that Islam thing. Think about it. Yeah.
he was funny. AP is funny. I did want to say one thing about you, and I'm thankful that you're polite to our guests, even if you disagree at the end of the day. And you know, I appreciate the compliment, because, you know, I will interview people who are on my side, and I'll give you an example. If you were to say someone was inbreed or something, I would have to call you out and say, please don't do that. You see what I'm saying? Like, so I think people know that we're sincere, even if they think we're sincerely wrong. You see what I mean? And that's okay. We think people are sincere, and we think they're sincerely wrong as well about certain things. And we're humans trying to figure things out. D-Man, last question, and I got to let you go, Abdullah. Why isn't the Islamic Allah intelligent as Muslim apologists in terms of understanding basic Christian theology?
Because so I think it's man-made. The religion is man-made, right?
I definitely think it's man-made. I wonder if this is a jab at the Trinity thing that we were just talking about earlier.
Yeah, and then the sister of Miriam, the daughter of what is it, Aaron?
Oh yeah. I was thinking Moses, but yeah.
There's an issue with Miriam is mentioned as the sister of Aaron, and then Muhammad said, "Oh, they name people the same," or something like that. People said, "Well, Miriam lived at a different time from Moses." I forget the exact issue, but there's an issue with that as well.
Yeah, I will say on that point, there is an
interesting... And the gospel thing is huge. There's no gospel of Jesus.
Yeah, we have nothing to go off of if there was, and that's another problem. So it's lack of evidence. It's evidence of absence. But on that whole note, one clever thing I think that was done with Ishmael, and I had a girl recently come on my show who said that Ishmael... Actually, I got an echo on your end. Can you hear me?
Sorry, I had to step away. It was a door.
Okay. No.
Yeah, go ahead.
Ishmael, the one thing I thought was interesting is Ishmael's his firstborn son, his actual firstborn son with the slave woman. Mm-hmm. But it says that Isaac was his firstborn, that he went to sacrifice. So later on, when you see Jacob has 12 sons, and he has sons with Leah and then Rachel, and then he has sons with slave women. Those sons are sons. They're not cast out with the bondwoman. None of that. Like this. Why isn't Ishmael the actual firstborn? Even in the Bible, he was literally the firstborn, but firstborn of a slave woman. So there's a clever thing going on here with Ishmael in Islam. At the same time, this makes me think that Judaism or Jews and early Muslims, probably even Muhammad himself, were together in some sense, and later on it was a fraction that broke off. And this is why studying with Robert Hoyman and other people, is it Hoyland? Robert Hoyland, Professor Hoyland was talking about non-Muslim sources were saying Muhammad was alive in 636 in the conquest of Jerusalem. The non-Muslim sources indicate this. Muslim sources say no, he died in 632. So why is he alive 4 years later, potentially, sacking Jerusalem with Jews who can't wait to rebuild Jerusalem? Interesting questions to have. So thank you so much, man.
Yeah, that was great. All right, man.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, if you have cognitive dissonance, get rid of it and say these 3 words. We are Myth Vision. Thanks, my friend.